Wow, we are live. I kind of messed up here. I hope everyone is doing all right. We should have a guest today, the jaded fanboy, and I also really hope Cole will be able to make it in time. It's possible he will end up being late. So, yeah, I hope everything will be fine. A lot of topics today. Oh, how are you?
Hey, multi-topic.
How are you?
I'm good.
That's good. So, welcome to the channel. Thank you for coming.
No
So,
problem.
as I said earlier, Cole may end up being late. Uh, so, let's hope he's not too late. You had time to see all three Guardian, right?
Yes.
Perfect. And I was wondering, um, have you seen the movies Antiviral?
No, doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, and The Witch, made in 2015.
No.
You are only watching old movies, do you?
I don't watch every movie. It's more I don't really watch those type of movies anymore. I'm just not interested.
I feel you, man. I feel you 100%. So let's start off by speaking about the first Guardian of the Galaxy. Is it fresh in your memory?
It's really weird because I remember watching it the first time and going, you know what, this isn't that bad. This was okay. But then I watched it again and it was like it's not like it was full of stupid like all the other movies, right? It was just, oh, that was kind of weird. That kind of was a little forced. Like, it wasn't a movie for me that I enjoyed on rewatch. I enjoyed it the first time I saw it, and I thought it was good, and it was, funny, and it was different, and it was interesting. I didn't like what they did with Gamora, and I didn't like how they changed Drax the Destroyer. But I kind of gave it some leeway. But I enjoyed it the first time, but I can't watch it on rewatch.
What were your issues? I'm curious to hear about that.
Again, it's just a lot of. Again, it's a lot of little things. I'd have to watch it again to go through it all. But again, it's just little things that don't really not enough for me to go. This movie's bad, but just not for me to enjoy it as much because again, it's one of those things where I saw it the first time, and then it's like I saw it again, and I go and I missed, and I didn't catch all of the things because I was just so focused on paying attention and catching everything. But again, just a lot of little. I wouldn't even say nitpicky things, just things that just. Again, I'd have to go through the movie again. It's been a while since I've seen it.
We pick apart things, like I'm the king of nitpicks here. If I see issues, man, I like to tear things apart, even when I like said things. And I agree with you. On my first watch, I thought that was like a masterpiece. And then
Well, I
the
wouldn't say.
rewatch happened, and you're like, okay, it's not a masterpiece. So how are you, Cole? Welcome,
Yeah,
smile face.
yeah, I'm a skater.
I cannot hear you.
Ah,
Maybe.
sorry. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah.
So you had time to watch the third one, right?
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. I had the time to watch. I have time to watch the third Guardians film. If that's what you mean. Again, when I watch a film in theaters, so I'm not really good with like going like much in depth into it. Usually, with like a rewatch digitally or watching it digitally to begin with, I'm a lot better because I can like write notes down and such while I'm watching it. So I'm probably not going to go like in depth at all with that one, and maybe not even like the second one because sadly I didn't have time to rewatch that one. But I did rewatch the first one, so that's more fresh in my mind, I guess.
The second one was horrendous. Uh,
Mm.
that was really bad.
I mean, I thought it had redeeming aspects, but if we're talking about like writing wise, it was a bit of a mess. Yeah, that was
The second was so okay. If you don't know anything about the Marvel comics, there's a lot that you would that it got away with. But because I know about the Marvel comics, this movie was just this movie. Okay, I thought this again. I don't want to pick on James Gunn because he's not the only one, but I should have gotten the hint when he changed Drax and he changed Gamora. But to absolutely destroy the cosmic hierarchy of the MCU was beyond even my expectations of this guy. Because I mean, he made Ego a celestial. And I'm going, but he's not a celestial. He's an elder of the universe. And then the Eternals movie comes out, and they actually explain what a celestial is. And it's like, are we just going to forget what happened in Guardians of the Galaxy 2? Yes, we are.
I like hearing your thoughts like that. I really enjoy that
The only thing I can remember, okay, and here's the other one, was Mantis. Because in the comics, she's the celestial Madonna. And the only reason I ended up knowing that much about Mantis was because I collect Silver Surfer, the Silver Surfer comics, and in that run, he was with Mantis for a while, and you got to know her story and I got to know her story and character. And I don't even know why they even had Mantis. Just create new characters and just give them that. It's just so stupid. The only thing I can remember from that movie is I hated what they did to Ego and I hated what he did to Mantis. Everything else was just forgetful.
So, okay. So, basically, for the first one, on my most recent watch, I still enjoyed it, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as my first watch. Um, Now, my first issue I had was at some point, someone chased after Star Lord, and of course, the guy had a gun, but he cannot aim because people in movies they can only aim if the plot wants them to hit something.
Oh, your name is John Wick.
That thing happens a lot in John Wick. Yeah, that's freaking true. Um, Next up is woman and man in the same prison. I found that weird, and even if they let that slide, Gamora was the only woman in the prison, so that's kind of odd. Maybe I didn't make too much.
It doesn't make any sense because it was just like, well, we had her in the group, so because we need her, because we need Gamora because she's linked to Thanos. That's the only reason she was in this movie.
Yeah, I will say though, I think I'm pretty, unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure she was basically like the only female there. So I'm pretty sure they actually just like shoved her in there like purposely because everybody hated her that much and because she did all those things before that they hate her for. So they just didn't care. They were just like, yeah, shove her in there. Hopefully she just gets snuffed out, I guess.
I still think it doesn't make any sense. Like,
well, they're corrupt.
Well, I'm saying that they could have thrown in, a half dozen female prisoners just to make it so that it seems normal. But they didn't even bother because that's the thing. They don't have to bother because they don't care because the audience doesn't care.
I do care, and I'm part of the audience.
Yeah, well, what they could have just.
You're the small percent of audience.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could call it like an issue or a weakness. I mean, for me, I don't think it's that big of one because I do
Oh, no, I
think.
don't think it's a big deal. I'm just
Yeah, I
saying.
know. I know, but yeah, I'm just saying because I do think they pretty much set it up where she's basically the only one there, so it shows that that's why she was just put there as well. But also, I think it would have been better though to get the point across, and so you people can't call it out. Is if they just had like a line of dialogue with the one commander guy when they were talking about sending them there. Just add something like
We don't get that many women
something like
here.
yeah, just say something like if one of the officers say Gamora too, and he's just like yeah, do it. That then you would get the point across because it's like yeah, that's abnormal, but that's the point. They hate her so much that there.
Or they could have established that, she's so dangerous.
Well, I think that's part of the reason too. But
so dangerous, she got upgraded to him. But again, at the same time, it's not like Quill is that much of. It's not like Star-Lord's that much of a threat, right?
And anyway, they don't establish it. Like it's Ed Canon here. It's not the writer telling us. It's just us trying to defend the writing.
Yeah, it's just lazy writing, and the audience has to try to fill in the gaps.
Now, next up, maybe I missed something. If I did, then I will take away that issue I had. But I don't think I missed anything. And here again, that will need some explaining. Um, it's not properly explained how holding hands would contract the stone effect if you touch it. Now, side note, it's clear like he's half celestial, but for me, it's still not enough for me to believe that it could handle the Infinity Stone. And even there, like they don't really bother explaining like people holding ends can contract that effect there. Maybe I missed something.
Oh no! It was just lazy writing. It was just plot convenience. There was literally no reason they should have survived.
Yeah,
There is none. There is none. But
yeah.
the movie wanted to have this. The movie wanted to have this whole family unit dynamic. So they defeated Ronan with the power of love. I guess I don't know.
Go. Try to take a shot if you can.
oh,
Use
I mean,
Ed Cannon.
listen, I don't know. Sorry, I was zoning out a little bit, so I don't remember everything he said. But if it isn't canon, where it's like, I mean, you can't like touch the Infinity Stones and like share it, or it makes it weaker. If that's not like supposed to be canon, or at least in the comic books, and sure, but they set it up here, I guess. So, but I mean, if that's not supposed to work, and then the comic books, though, then sure, they could have definitely done something better.
Well, no, it's not just that. I mean, even if you take away the comics, right? There's the one scene where they're with the collector, and that one girl tries to grab the stone, and she kind of like explodes and evaporates. So it kind of establishes what happens if a person who's not, I don't know, worthy, so to speak, of holding a soul stone. That's what happens to them. So you already have that scene in the MCU where it establishes that.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I think does it take away what they also tried to set up with it though, where it's like if more people hold it, then sure, but also does it then mean that Star Wars a bit more worthy, I guess, because of what they revealed later after it? Or,
Well, again, they were establishing that the only reason he was able to survive was because he was half celestial, right? But that doesn't. But what multi-topic is saying, how does that convert to everybody else? Like he's somehow able to share his immunity to the destruction of the Infinity Stone because he's half celestial, and he passed it on to people because they were touching, and they all saying "Kumbaya." It was just it's just like multi-topic. The thing is, like most of all of these examples, it can just be reduced to lazy writing because they don't have to actually do anything
so they
viable.
basically just did that with his character to then give an excuse, basically, is what you're
Right.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause it's like,
I mean, yeah, you could call it like lazy writing, I guess, instead of like coming up with something else for the finale that would be more interesting and make more sense.
because the fact that he's half celestial never comes up ever again.
Oh, that is
You know what I
again.
mean?
I didn't rewatch the second recently, so I forgot about that kind of. But yeah, that's actually they really should have done something with it, and they had so many opportunities to. But
Yeah.
and
So
and and even if he is half celestial, it's shown that he would have died because it was melting. He took longer to melt than the other girl that tried to play with the stone, but he would have died. And someone, his friend, saves him. So it's not even like his celestial lineage that basically saved him. It's power of love, as
that's the
they
power of love.
said.
It's friendship. He
power of
got
friendship, yeah.
he has the well, no, but hold on. Fast and Furious has the power of family. The Little Pony has the power of friendship. So yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy have to get something new because those have already been taken.
So these were my issues. As I said, I still enjoyed the movie a lot. Um, so yeah, the I like Gomorrah there, and I think there's Echo. I don't know what's up with the Echo there. Um, Rocket Raccoon was cool, and I also liked a lot the entire like sequence in prison. Even if like I had nitpick here about Gomorrah being there, I still enjoyed that part of the movie. Um, so yeah, I think the first movie was solid outside of the few issues. That was back in the day when CGI was slightly better. I feel like it was slightly better.
No, that's
Maybe
when
I'm
they
wrong.
cared about it, and before MCU started abusing their visual effects workers.
That's all. But
And
like I said, there were some good parts in this. Again, like the prison scene. Like I miss Galaxy of the Guardians, the first Galaxy of the Guardians Groot. I miss him. Okay, that's the Groot I want. And the fact that the second one had that dumbass teenager, and the third one had that Ninja Turtle looking one, it was just ridiculous. I I like the Groot from the first movie, and I wish they would bring him back. I don't know why
Yeah,
they kept
same.
Groot in.
That is one. Yeah, I was really sad that they just did that. Yeah, I really just wanted them to keep the same
I,
old
I,
route.
I miss the Groot where in the prison scene he extends his arm, grabs basically kills five prisoners, slams them around, turns around and gives this little innocent little smile. It's like, hi, how are you? It's like that's the Groot I like. Like they did really well with Groot and Rocket Raccoon in the first movie, and again with Quill they did good too. But again, my favorite scene out of all of the MCU movies, like one of my favorite scenes out of all the MCU movies, will always be the beginning scene of the movie because of with Quill, dancing to the music and stuff. I thought that was original. That was great. It was a great use of a soundtrack, and no other movies. I mean, the only other movie that did that was Drive, but that was that was a whole like 5 minutes, like a whole intro of the movie. So yeah, I will always give the Guardians of the Galaxy the first one. I'll always give it that, but that's about it.
so, do you remember the grade you would give to the first one?
Well, I don't really give grades. I don't give numbers because it doesn't make any sense. Because a movie could have certain uh, pros and cons, and I give it and I'll give it a 5. But another movie will have different pros and cons, but I'll still give it a 5. So it's like I don't really know how to actually judge that. For me,
Well,
it's
that's why subjectivity comes in. That also plays a part after you're done with it.
right. So for me, numbers don't really, giving it a score doesn't really mean anything to me.
I mean, it's not supposed to be like totally objective. The score is. It's just supposed to be like words.
Well,
yeah,
okay,
you're doing it by scores like that. But then after you do that with the subjectivity.
But here's the thing. Let's say I give Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, right? I give it a 5. And then I go, oh, you know that Batman movie with Pattinson? Oh, that's also a 5. And people go, what? You think the Batman movie is just as good as the Guardians of the Galaxy movie? You're crazy. The Pattinson movie is great. It's so much more better. So,
yeah. Well, there's always going to be idiots like that with ratings.
You got one number higher, and suddenly it's like, oh my God, you love that movie more than that movie? So it's like, shut up. I'm not going to bother giving numbers then. It's useless.
Yeah. Well, again, there's always going to be idiots like that in the world with that. That always happens with
but that's not
numbers.
But that's not the exception, Cole. That's the rule. That's the rule. You go to anybody who loved the movie and you actually rate it lower than another movie, oh my God, they go ballistic.
Yeah, well, that's why you just ignore them like you always do.
And to avoid that, I just don't bother giving numbers. It's just because it's meaningless. To me, it was passable for the first watch, but it's not worth a rewatch. That's how I would rate the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It had moments, but that's about it.
Okay.
What about you, Cole? Out of 10?
Yeah, I'd probably give this like around a 7.5 to 8. This is
one
of them.
Oh my God!
Yeah, this is one of them that I think the MCU did better with. There are some flaws here and there, and I do agree. I wish they just kept the original group from the other ones. That's the one thing that really kind of pissed me off about the second and the third. But yeah, no, I think they did all the characters well and all the character dynamics and trying to work as a team. Well, it's what dozens and dozens of other comic book movies like that shitty Suicide Squad 2017 or 2016, whenever it came out, tried doing and just absolutely failed with.
Hold on. Are you talking the James Gunn one or the one before that?
The one before that.
Yeah, the one before that. The James Gunn one also had some issues with that, but it overall worked better.
Oh my God! So this.
Oh, it did. It did. I'm getting along at that point was a bit rushed, but their character dynamics were a lot better, and when they weren't so jokey at a lot of points.
The movie totally destroyed Amanda Waller's character.
Okay,
Totally
I wouldn't say totally destroyed.
Absolutely, totally destroyed.
No, I wouldn't really agree. Sure, they kind of like. The first one did do it better, and then they didn't in the second. Sure, show more for brutality and not taking people's shit. Okay, sure, but they still showed it enough in the second, and yeah, they should have done it more. But in my opinion, minute details like that don't really hold it down for me. If the rest of it and the actual scenes themselves, how they're done, are good. But no, that's just me. But again, visual effects beautiful, cinematography beautiful. I actually liked majority of the humor in this one, even if I didn't laugh out loud at any of it, besides some lines here and there. But outside of that, yeah, which is a rarity for an MCU film.
So you're one of those Peacemaker fanboys, are you?
Well, no, this was I did like Peacemaker, but the humor was one of the worst parts of it when they tried too hard with it at certain points. But no. The first Guardians is when he held back the most, so it worked way better. And yeah, I liked the villains in it, even if some of them were destroyed a lot in stupid ways or a lot easier. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I like about this overall. Yeah, as for flaws, you guys pretty much said it. Also, the editing at points was a little weak, I would say. That's about it. So yeah, and a 7.5 to 8 out of 10. Trust me, I don't think there's besides maybe one which you're gonna get angry at me for. But again, before you do later on, I'll need to rewatch it to make sure because I just saw it in theaters.
Just to get an idea here. You saw the live action Super Mario Brothers movie, right? The one from the 90s or the early. Okay. What would you rate? Just to give me an idea, what would you rate that movie?
Well, this is what I have to say. As in, okay, by objectively, are you talking about objectively? Yeah,
No.
like a fucking 1 out of 10. But it was hilarious.
See,
Well, what, it was garbage, but it was hilarious to
I'm
watch.
not arguing that it wasn't garbage. What I'm saying is, what movie would you rank around a 5 then? Because
Around a 5 out of 10 would be something like the first Doctor Strange.
So okay, so what made Guardians of the Galaxy a higher ranking, even though it's just as mediocre as?
Okay, maybe. But anyway, there's a lot of things that go into it that would be too hard to explain. But number one, like I would say the pace, and I liked a lot more in this than I did in the first. In Doctor Strange, I do think they, with the lead characters at least, and some of the supporting ones, they did the characters a lot better in my opinion. Like the dynamics, I thought the story was a lot. It was a lot more safe and basic in the first Doctor Strange, which is fine now. But
you're going to the technical aspects of the movie making.
Well, that too, but a lot of other things. Again, I'm just giving an example. I might even give the first Doctor Strange a 6, but I haven't seen it in a while. But it's around that range. But again, it's things here and there. It's not like one specific.
What's that thing you get movies from? Not Redbox. What was it?
Letterbox.
Go to Letterbox. Go to your list and show me your 5.
Okay. Show me
and tell me your 5s.
Okay, well, there's a lot.
Or your 4s or your 3s. I'd love to know what a 3 out of 10 is for Cole.
Okay, we'll go into the.
For me, it's Wakanda Forever. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Wakanda Forever was so terrible.
Well, I would say that one Plane movie that just came out, I'd say that's a 5.
That one Plane movie?
It was with Gerald Butler. I don't think you've seen it, but
okay. What was the title?
Just called Plane, and it's because they did those things like they did it on a competent filmmaking level. It did have a lot of purpose and meaning and effort put into it, and some surprisingly good performances, some good ideas, some good action. Just wasn't anything too special there. Still kind of like amateur at a lot of points. Still pretty like average, generic, movie blockbuster at a lot of points.
You know what the thing is, Cole? You put way more effort in figuring out how to rate a movie than the producers do making the damn thing.
Maybe.
Okay? You put more thought in it. Jesus.
I will maybe anger you, but I actually gave this movie a 9 out of 10, despite my issues.
The first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay, I will explain you my system.
Okay.
The first issue I got with the movie takes out 0.3 points. Because if I only got one issue with the movie, it's a great movie for me.
Okay.
Then I take out 0.2 on the second one. Because if there's only like 2 issues, it's still like very enjoyable for me. And then I take 0.5 on each issues. And on this movie, I had 3 issues. So that makes it a 9. But sometimes my issues weight more, so I will take out an extra point after I took out point for each.
And sometimes there's just other movies that you just don't like as much in general, so you'll like start it off like a lower rating, like a 9, and then it goes down to 8.
Yeah.
But that's I think that's
let's just put it like this. He'll rate his personal enjoyment first, so it will be something like if his personal enjoyment was a 10, then he'll do that, and then he'll do the flaws.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. I already made a video about this. There's how good the movie is and how much you like the movie. Those are 2 different scores. Those are 2 different ratings. They're not the same one, because I think well,
listen,
I remember the name of the movie. I'm trying to.
Okay, well, while you
There's
think, I'm just
a
gonna
film
see.
there's a film from the 80s. Not
What film are you
it's
seeing?
it's not Marathon. It's like a movie about the running the track. It's like from the 60s.
Willy Wonka.
No, running.
You said
Not
chocolate
Marathon.
factory. I was like, wait, what?
Uh,
Oh, the Running Man.
no, not the Running Man. But there's a movie.
Chariots of Fire.
It's a Fire. Okay, that's a movie that's considered a very well done, well made movie. That if you were to ask film critics, okay, that it's an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Now, I will agree with that. But if you were to ask me how much I like that movie, I'd go 3 out of 10 because it was a boring mess.
Yeah, I thought it was boring.
Not that it, not that it, but again, that's too. So it's like I saw the movie, and I understand why. Because again, some of the best acting, great cinematography, great story, great soundtrack, great music, great ambiance. You know, all of that is great. But if you were to ask me if I enjoyed it, I go, no, I didn't enjoy the movie. So if you were to ask me what would I rate this movie, I would have to go, are you talking about as a movie or my personal enjoyment? But as a movie, Chariots of Fire is like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, well, no, you can do both, Jaded, but
Sometimes I give a 7 because I see the movie is better than what I enjoyed out of it. But like in my personal taste, when it's a 7, sometimes it's actually like my enjoyment is either like not there or too much there for a bad movie. Like
Hey,
it's hard to explain, but I will give you a good example. There was a movie called Incendie. I gave a 7. I didn't enjoy the movie at all, but I kind of figure out that why people enjoyed that movie. So that's why I gave a 7, because for me a 7 is like average. It's like it's nothing impressive,
yeah,
but
that or
it's not
Mank
bad
as well
either.
is another example.
which
What?
one?
Mank is another example. By
Oh
David
yeah,
Fincher.
Mank, same thing, and also Citizen Kane as well. I didn't connect with either Mank or Citizen Kane,
Oh yeah,
and
I didn't connect with Citizen Kane at all either.
so I kind of figure out like, okay, this movie is better than what I give it credit for, but my grade would be a 7 because for me it's average. I didn't connect with it, but I
But
kind of
5
see the
is
value of
supposed
it.
to be average. How is 7 average? 5 is supposed to be average.
Okay,
Six
Because
for me.
people have different ratings.
1 and 10. There's 1 and 10. What's in the middle? 5. That's average.
The problem is, I think, because people pay
It's
too much
above
to school.
average. Pardon?
People pay too much to school ratings, where like a 60 is a D.
For
Who
me,
cares?
6. For me, 6 is mediocre because it's like you just passed, but you just passed. You know,
What's a 5 for you then?
bad. It's bad, and then
But it's
4,
5.
it's awful, and then 3, it's terrible, horrendous slash everything. 2 is it's unwatchable. You know, like 5 is just bad for me.
I don't know. That just sounds. See that's what I mean about the numbers. That everybody has their own variation.
Yeah.
This is another reason I don't like the number system, is because everybody has their own version of what the numbers mean.
Yeah, and again, that's fine though. But again, that's why I
No,
say that's
For
why.
you yourself, that's fine. But when you're
Yeah.
comparing it to somebody else,
Yeah, again, that's why we either you understand how theirs works, or it's fine. You look at that and it's fine, but you don't just pay attention to the number. You pay attention to what they have to say. And there's obviously idiots who don't. They just see the rating and are like, "Why did you put this one below this one?" But there's always going to be idiots like that out there. And when it comes to like, are you talking about what I would rate it objectively, or what that like you can do it both ways, and then you can also have a third system where it's but you do it kind of both, and that's how I kind of roll. But then if somebody wants to ask me separate of things, then I can do that as well with ratings for each ones.
okay,
You have to understand though, Jaded, films are also art, and art is subjective, so it's okay to do both things.
will you please stop with that? It is objective. That's like saying building a house is objective, okay? Because you can tell the difference between a mansion and a hovel, okay? You don't get to look at a hovel and go, you know what? That's an absolutely amazing piece of.
Well, some people might think so. Whatever, and they're wrong. But hey,
again, okay, so it doesn't work that way. But I want to put Cole to the test. I want to put Cole to the test.
I don't mean like completely like that. I mean to a certain extent. And here's the thing as well. It's fine to do. It's fine to do something like that as long as you admit it.
Enjoying a movie is subjective. That's fine because two people can watch the exact same movie, and one could think it was an absolute masterpiece of a dramatic masterpiece. Another person can view that movie and go, yeah, it was boring as hell. I was falling asleep during most, like with the first Lord of the Rings movie. Okay?
This proves that at some part, what you just said proved that parts of what we are saying is true, that there's a subjective part to it. As long there's an objective and there's a subjective part.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying there's two. I'm just saying it's two separate things, and people are constantly combining them, and that's why I don't like the number system.
It depends how you think about it. Like again, I think of films like that, so to me, it's fine. And so when I combine them, and I don't just like lean it one way towards the other. Like there's a film that I think is kind of bad, but I still like love it on an enjoyment level. I'm still gonna give it not a good rating at all. Like it's to a certain extent.
I want to put Cole to the test. Rate Midsommar and rate everything. What is it? Everything all at once.
Yeah,
what is
everything
it?
Everywhere all at once. Okay.
Give me a rating for those.
Yeah, Midsommar. I would give. Well, this is what I'll say. Midsommar, the theatrical cut.
No. I want to hear stories. I want to hear the number.
Well, I would give an 8 to 8.5 because I do think the director's cut improved it. So the 8.5 is for that one.
Everything.
That one around like a 9.5 or 10. I really love that one.
This is what I need.
What?
Midsommar is at least a 5 at best.
I think it's amazingly made, and I loved it personally. So, what do you want me to say? I think the cinematography was great. We haven't reviewed it, so no spoilers, but it will be in the future for multi-topic. But yeah, I thought the cinematography, production design, lighting, directing, and all the elements with like the messages there with hidden meanings was great. I like the acting.
Tell me how good the pacing was in Midsommar. I'd love to hear that part.
The pacing. The pacing was a little off at some moments. They dragged on a little bit, but there are other moments though where I do think it was worthy to be that slow. Mainly the opening.
So jaded, if you
again, that's why it's only an 8 though. I don't think it's perfect, but it doesn't drag down my overall like thoughts on it. Just some things like that here and there. And also one last thing, multi-topic. Last thing I was gonna say. It's fine if you like know something's bad, but there's some like sentimental reasons or enjoyment reasons, and you give it a pretty high score. Like I'll give you an example, and it's too much to get into, but I told some stories before to you backstage before recently. So because of that, there are some films that I don't think are actually like a 10, like The Host 2006. I do think there are some weaknesses or the fact that I just don't think it's a 10 overall at all objectively, but more like an 8 or even like a 7.5, but I give it a 10 because my personal enjoyment is like a 20 out of 10. And for sentimental reasons, it's fine to do that stuff, in my opinion, as well. It's fine. What you were talking about, as long as you admit it, just like you said when you gave Steel Jaded certified. It's fine if you admit you're being biased.
Hold on. I'm going to correct something about that. The ranking was what movies does Jaded like? It wasn't how good are these movies. It was ranking how much did Jaded like these movies.
Yeah, but still, I'm just using it as an example.
Hold on, and good. I know that the movie Steel sucks. I know it's garbage. I know it's a 3 out of 10. Okay? But if you ask me, did I enjoy it? Yes. Hence the term guilty pleasure. A movie being a guilty pleasure.
That can be too. There's many that I enjoy, but I still give a bad rating as a guilty pleasure.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So it's like I can separate my enjoyment to the quality of the movie.
Yeah, I can too, but there's certain cases where that happens for for specific reasons. That happens to everybody. There is a, maybe not with you, but for almost everybody else, there's got to be at least a few films here and there where that's the case, where you know that, but for certain reasons, you just have to give it a higher rating, and that's fine in my opinion. Just like the example we gave, like with the hut and the mansion, as long as you admit that realistically and objectively. That's all I was saying. It's fine. You can rate any film, whatever, as long as you admit it that it's objectively something else.
It's like Toxic Avenger.
Oh yeah, I gave that movie a 7. That was
Wait a
great.
minute. Toxic Avenger was not that bad a movie.
Oh my!
Hold on. Wait a minute. Okay. You have to understand. I am used to seeing movies. I am used to seeing movies that have very bad special effects, and rating a movie just because the special effects are bad when they don't have a budget, that's not fair. Like if you have if a producer, the guy making the movie has a budget of $10,000, he's not going to compare to a movie studio who has a budget of $50 million. Like it's why the difference between the Gremlins movie versus Critters, right? Like Critters was a ripoff of Gremlins, but the guys who made Critters didn't have the same budget as Gremlins, so it's not fair to go, oh, their special effects stock. Like, so you got $10,000, you make a movie with special effects that equals a $50 million movie. It's not going to happen.
I suppose, but I will say I don't think that's the reason why. I just think it's because he thinks it's a convoluted, weird mess, and he doesn't understand. He doesn't really understand like the satire or the satiricalness of the Toxic Avenger.
Because with the Toxic Avenger, right, it's the same type of movie of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Okay, like you could a person could look at Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and go, "This movie's a piece of shit," and I'm going, "That's because you're missing the damn point."
Well, I will say that one I do think is a piece of shit. Outside of that outside of that amazing poster, because I understood the movie completely. I just thought it was poorly made, and I thought it was a bad. I just thought it was unfunny and bad idea. It was just during that time where they're just like
the hero of the movie is constantly running around with the parachute still attached to him. It was hilarious. The two grandparents sitting on the couch, and there's a shadow of their grandson, right? And the grandson is going to the kitchen to get something, and they go, "Hi, Billy. Hi, Grandma. Hi, Grandpa. Hi, Billy." And they're just sitting there. Now you don't even see anything. All you see is the damn shadow. So you see the shadow of Billy on the wall. Then you see a shadow of a giant tomato following Jimmy or Billy or whatever. And all of a sudden you hear Billy going, "Ah!" And you hear crunching sounds. And the grandparents are sitting on the couch, calm as can be, and go, "There's a giant tomato eating Billy." And the grandfather goes, "Yep." I mean, that's hilarious.
There are some moments like that, but for the most part, I don't think it's complete garbage. I think it's more like a 2 or 3. Yeah, no, there are funny moments like that, and I get it. I get the point of the film and everything.
Toxic Avenger and shit acting, bad music.
That's the point of it.
But that was the point, because it was making fun of, it's like the movie The Room, right? people like the movie The Room sucks, but people were loving it because they understood the joke.
And Troll 2, he did see Troll 2. That was another one. And he liked it more unironically than Wakanda Forever. He thought it was a better film than Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda Forever, I went in the minus with that one.
Nah, see, Wakanda Forever
my way of
again,
movies,
with Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, I just think it wasn't funny enough moments like that. If overall, I just think the movie was a bit of a drag in it, and its premise, I think they didn't do as many ideas with it as they could have, or it ran its course. It was just one of those attempts where like making something stupid back then that was funny, and there were some moments, but overall, I just thought it was like terrible and unfunny.
See, what you thought of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is what I thought of the sequel. Because I hated the sequel.
Yeah, that one I watched like 15 minutes and then gave it a 1 out of 10 and moved on.
This proves that movie is art and people can have different opinions.
No. Enjoying the movie is subjective. But me and Cole both know that Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, okay, is a 3 out of 10 movie. We know this. Like we're never gonna argue against it. But the enjoyment level of Attack of the Killer, that's why it's a cult classic. That's why these movies are cult classics. You think the Rocky Horror Picture Show is actually a good movie? No, it's not that good a movie. It doesn't even make any sense. But the characters, well, basically mostly the characters, is what saves that movie. But that's why certain movies are considered cult classics, because even though we know it's a bad movie, what is it? Talos, The Hand of Fate. Like, have you seen that one?
Yeah, well, he hasn't, but yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
again, mention Troll 2. He's seen that one.
Okay, Troll. Well, again, I haven't seen Troll.
Godly awful.
Wait, you haven't seen Troll 2?
No, after seeing Troll 1, I was fine.
Oh my! No, you have to see Troll 2.
It's not even a sequel.
Yeah,
it's Leprechaun. It's like the movie Leprechaun. It was making fun of, especially after Chucky, it was making fun of the whole genre. But again, the movie was bad. The only thing that saved it was what's her face is being topless. The girl from Friends. The girl from Friends that was in.
Yeah, I forgot her name, but yeah, I know who you're
I
talking
forgot
about.
her name, but I think I have her face in my mind.
Yeah, but yeah, again, the Toxic Avenger, in my opinion, though, is one of those cases where it's like that. The point of it is to make fun of it, but I also think it was actually done well and is a very good film.
Yeah, for what it was.
Unlike Troll 2, which is that, and I love it entertainment-wise, but it's still a garbage film.
It's still a garbage film.
Yeah, I think Toxic Avenger a little different, though. And there are some cases like that, too. Multi-topic. It can be like that, like a Troll 2, but also be genuinely a good, well-made film with what it's going for, too.
Unless people are directing it.
This was a very interesting tangent there. So, Garden 2 was actually awful.
Yeah, for me, here, I still think, okay, I'm not going to disagree with any flaws, like any dumb character moments, dumb writing, dumb humor, dumb plot holes, anything you bring up. But for me, I still think it was all right. For me personally, for the pure reason that I just think all the elements, well, most of the elements from Guardians 1, on top of all the stupidity as well, were still left into the film. Right, it was still there. And I like that stuff enough from like the Guardians 1 and Guardians 2 as well, where it's enough for me to call it an average, an okay, enjoyable enough film for me. But yeah, there's a lot of stupid in it. It's definitely far worse than the other Guardians films. Jaded, you can say, quick thought if you want.
The thing for me with Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is it was still at a time where I actually cared about these comic book movies. So the fact that they were so unfaithful to the source material back then bought like. Let me put it this way: if Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out today, and I saw what the movie and how the movie screwed up the the Marvel cosmic hierarchy, I wouldn't be pissed at it. I'd be going, well, of course they are. Of course they're screwing it up because that's what they do. I don't care anymore. So back then, when Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out, I still actually cared about them making good, solid movies, or comic book movies. So that's why it upset me so much, and I couldn't. Again, I'm seeing Mantis, and I'm going, that's not even close to the character. I'm seeing Drax. That's not even. I go, oh look, they took the bit from the first movie where Drax takes everything seriously, and we're going to go, let's make that all the jokes about Drax. And it was like you're saying the same joke 20 different times, and it doesn't get funnier every time you say it.
I really hate the humor of Drax. I really
right.
I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot.
And for me, that really damaged Peacemaker, because outside of it was really funny when they weren't dragging on the jokes. For me personally, like the prison scene where Vigilante was his name was that was hilarious to me. But a lot of the humor is literally dragging the jokes on for a minute, like, oh, did you not find that funny? Blah. And for me, if they just took that out, now I still enjoy Peacemaker, but if they took that out, oh, it would be so much better of a show. But that humor in it was just fucking killed a lot of it, where it went down from being like an excellent show to just good for me. And this is the same with Guardians. Like, holy fuck it.
And again, with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they had the wrong Groot, so I didn't like him. So there was just so much about. It was almost like in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they were caricatures of what the characters were in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Whereas Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the characters were at least more closely aligned to the first movie. Whereas, it's like, let's take their little idiosyncrasies and let's make them their character. And it's like, but you already established their characters in the first movie. You can just keep going with that. And that's why there was just too much about the second movie that there was not very much. Like the beginning thing where Rocket's trying to tell Groot about which button to push, right? And it's like, Groot's not that stupid. He's not that stupid. So it doesn't work, but they don't care. But he's cute, so that's all that matters.
Or the other scene when Wondu, I can't pronounce his name, the guy with the
Yondu, yeah.
He was in prison, and he basically told Groot like 10 times what to go grab.
Yeah, and it's like the first 2 times. I got it. That's funny. But the movie's going, you know what? We got to fill in another 20 minutes. So let's have Groot do it 7 more times.
Yeah.
And it's like
terrible.
Yeah. It's like it was funny the first time. It was funny the second time because he's still screwing up. But then now you're just doing it over and over and over and over again. And it's like, it's not funny anymore. It's like an SNL sketch that goes on too long.
And I think there was the James Gunn syndrome, as I called it. Too much music everywhere for like no valuable reason. It's like they really want you to feel something through the music, but it just doesn't work.
I will say something with the music though. That's also something I forgot to mention. Guardians 1, I do think people overhype it. Like, people try to say that the score is a fucking masterpiece. I don't think of that much, but it was a great score and great music. Now the music is still good in this, and when they use licensed music, unlike other films, like this and other examples, like the movie Waves, which we'll get to in the future, and other times, like Shaun of the Dead, when they're playing like that fucking Queen song.
But again, with Shaun of the Dead, the music is actually part of the scene.
And there's other examples of Edgar Wright's trilogy there, and you see, stuff like that is how you do it right. And other times where you can do it fine is also stuff like this, where it's not just like slapped on like every shitty blockbuster like fucking Battleship and other MCU films, just slapped on like trendy music for no, especially during especially during characters travel into somewhere scenes. All right, it's at least like it's like it plays on a device, so then we hear it and stuff like that. All right, like that's how you do it right. But here's another thing you have to do that, and also scores in general, right, in films. Just knowing how to utilize them tastefully and in the proper scenes. It's like, sure, you can say the score itself is very good, and you can say the licensed music had a purpose like that, but you still need to not overuse it and utilize it well in the certain scenes. Like, for example, imagine in The Sixth Sense, like, now he hasn't seen it yet, I don't think, on the topic, so I won't spoil the scene, but Jaded, you've seen it. Yeah, imagine the scene where the main character is in the car with his mother finally giving that talk. Imagine if they put on sappy, dramatic music during it. It would have killed it. You need to know when it's appropriate to use it, and will either elevate or ruin scenes. And it ruined it.
And there are certain scenes especially when it comes to a dramatic scene, that you don't actually have to have the music. You let the scene carry this. You let the dialogue carry the scene.
Yeah, and Guardians 2, they really did not do that well at all.
Well, see, the thing is, though, I understand why. I don't approve of it, but I understand why. Because they did the whole, mixtape thing with Guardians of the Galaxy 1. They go, oh, well, we got to do that now because that's our thing, apparently. So they had to go over. So they went. But the thing is that they went overboard, especially in the third one with the soundtrack. It's like, let's just shove in all these 80s music because in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, since Quill went back to Earth, now it's not just his mother's tape. Now it's songs from the 90s, the 2000s. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, we got to do Guardians of the Galaxy 2 mixtape soundtrack. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 mix.
Yeah, I think Guardians 1 did it well, but in Guardians 2 and Guardians 3, yeah. I will say Guardians 3, how they did it, I don't think it was like done creatively, flowed with the scenes, or done well like in Guardians 1, but I do think in Guardians 3, it at least didn't ruin the experience for me, or was like disgust in how they did it personally. I don't think so, but it was still not done, well or anything, but it was whatever, and at least the music was good. In Guardians 2, though, I mean, again, the music is still good, but not only was it just not done well, but unlike Guardians 3, it was just done disgustingly. I hated how they kind of utilized it in this movie.
It was unnecessary.
Yeah, like, it was still, like, I guess, it's a creative idea, and the music's good, but, it was unnecessary, and there were so many ways they could have utilized it well, but they were too lazy to think of them.
We also got a Drax that was basically reduced into comic relief and nothing more. Like, it was always kind of stupid in the first one, but even there, he had his nuance here and there. And I feel like in the third one, it was much better, but in the second one, it was a joke. I really hated Drax.
Yeah, what they really should have done was they should have kept him sort of the same in Guardians 2, because his job still wasn't finished with Thanos by that point. And then in Guardians 3, they can try him, like, being not nowhere near this far, but a little light-hearted by that point, a lot more, with him just like, trying to become like more chill and stuff. But they just then not only fast forward it and did it in Guardians 2 instead before before the Avengers killed Thanos, but then they just went full overboard with it with this bullshit. They completely butchered Drax's character. And that's the one thing I probably hate the most about this film.
And another issue I had was when Yondu tried to escape. He is with his arrow killing everyone, and we clearly see that some of these guys have guns, and literally nobody tried to shoot. They all just died.
It's like, but it doesn't matter. It's a cool looking scene, and I'm going, yeah, but it's so forced. I can't enjoy the cool looking scene. I enjoy it's like It's like in the Indiana Jones movie where the guy's got the sword and he's swinging it around, and then Indiana just shoots him and goes away, right? That works. That makes sense. It's a cool scene because it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense. Everything in that scene makes sense. But with Yondu, it's like the only way it works is if everybody just stands there so they can get killed. And it's like, well, then it's not as good as you're pretending it is. Yes, it's visually great. It's visually great, but I want more than that.
What did you think of the wood scene? I thought that was a good scene because for once, gunfight is actually interesting because Raccoon is kind of small, so he's hard to hit because it's dark. That's my take on it. But what's yours? The wood scene where they try to capture.
I like that scene overall.
Raccoon.
Yeah.
What's your take, Jaded?
Again, with Rocket, other than the third Guardians movie, with Rocket, they were treating Rocket kind of like how with like a Bucky. Like Rocket was like a Bucky. He was the gung ho, weapons firing. He was he was the actual fighter of the group that actually knew what he was doing, whereas Quill was more like living off of his luck. And Gamora was barely because again, the problem with me when it came to these movies is that I know so much about the comic book character that it's hard. It's really hard for me to separate them. And unless the director does something that's so even I always have the mentality that the director is always given agency to be able to take the character in the direction that director.
Like what I like to try to think about it in many scenarios, especially with like whatever you think about it or not, Matt Reeves' Batman is it's basically like their own take of a comic book on the character to an extent.
Now, if what they did with it was really well thought out and well, dialogue and character and all that stuff, I go, yes, it's not exactly the same as the source material, but the direction that he took, you know what? That was an interesting take. But with James Gunn, he just basically takes the laziest, lowest common denominator version of it. So it's like there's nothing to actually enjoy. And that's the problem with a lot of his characters. So I can't separate that. So you can give me again, Batman is a great example. Or the Riddler with I forget which Batman movie it was, but where Jim Carrey plays the Riddler. Now
it's Forever.
Yeah, Batman Forever. Now that Riddler is not the Riddler from the comics. It's not. But but Jim Carrey's take of the Riddler was enjoyable enough that I can go, okay, yes, it's not faithful to the source material, but it's such an interesting, well done version of it that I let it ride.
Yeah, it's too bad they didn't really write like any cool like scenes or riddles for him, but his take was kind of entertaining.
The riddles were just so. I mean, they did have some of the riddles, right?
But they were so bad.
Right. It wasn't. Because again, the whole point of the Riddler is he wants to challenge that he's smarter than Batman, but Jim Carrey's Riddler wasn't about challenging Batman mentally. It was just about, giving again. But with James Gunn, again, I'm not trying to pick on just James Gunn James Gunn sucks and he's the only director. No, believe me, there are other directors that do it too. But with James Gunn, he just took the most simplistic version because I want it this way. And I'm going, okay, but this character is not interesting. It's not a good version. It's just a lame simplistic version of it that I just can't enjoy. That's all.
I feel you, man. I feel you. So, I also had another issue at
One
some
other
point.
thing. One other thing. Same thing with Drax. The whole point of the comic books is Drax wants to kill Thanos. But the movie's going, no, we're just going to have him that he wants to kill Ronan because we have to make it Ronan be the bad guy for Drax. And it's like, well, I can't take you seriously now because you've changed the whole origin of the character.
Yeah.
But for 99% of the audience who don't know anything about Drax, that's not a problem for them. But for me, because I'm part of that 1% that actually read the comics and know the characters, I can't separate them.
I really wish we just got like a lot of flashbacks from his past life. That would have been great.
Yeah,
Instead
except
of telling us, show us.
How could they have filmed flashbacks when James Gunn had no idea what they were anyway? It's not like he thought it out. It's not like he fleshed out the characters.
Yeah, like honestly, I saw I played that Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy, and by the way, though, the RPG style one that came out like a couple years ago, excellent, and recommend that. But anyway, I played that Telltale one story one though. Yeah, it wasn't very good, but there were moments in it though where I was like, I wish there were scenes like that in the Guardians trilogy, and yeah, one of them was flashbacks with Drax and his daughter, and I'm like, why couldn't they have just done that in Guardians 2? I will say though,
Right.
they at least finally did it with Rocket and Guardians 3. I'll give them that.
Yeah, but that was unnecessary.
And I also
they really should have done it in 2 as well, but yeah.
I
Like-
also had another issue. At some point, like, it said that Nebula really wants to kill Gamora, and she is on a ship chasing after her, and she keep missing the target instead of freaking hitting Gamora. It's like, it's ridiculous. She shot so many bullets and nothing hit Gamora. I'm like, man, you really need me to suspend disbelief so much in like so long.
Yeah, that's the thing with these movies is I understand the concept of suspension of disbelief. The problems with a lot of these movies is they're now using suspension of disbelief as an excuse to just say to do whatever the hell they want. And they can go, oh yeah, just use suspension of disbelief. I go, no, that's not how suspension of disbelief works. Suspension of disbelief is I will accept that being bitten by a radioactive spider grants you these superpowers and doesn't automatically kill you. But to be able for me to actually keep that suspension of disbelief, the movie has to reinforce that there are limitations and there's rules and you have to stay within those rules.
Yeah, like I don't think Endgame stayed in the rules of time travel, and that's why.
Oh, none of them have. That's the whole point. That's the whole problem.
Yeah, I will say it's been a little while since I've seen the film, so because of that, I don't remember exactly what rules they broke. So anytime I hear people in streams like defending it, because I really want to rewatch it just so I can write down again what they did wrong with it. But I also don't really want to rewatch the film.
No,
We will eventually cover the movie, man. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Once
but
we get
I
into
know
the
they broke
MCU,
rules in the time travel. I know they broke rules they set up, or there were rules where they could have easily done stuff to bring back people like Black Widow, but they just didn't bother because it would have broken the moments.
Right. So, but again, I understand what suspension of disbelief is, but it's not an excuse to do whatever the hell you want and then just go, well, Spider-Man's, it's like Spider-Man in the movie, Spider-Man suddenly grows wings and can fly. And it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, it's a comic book movie, suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, no, that's what they do all the time in kids' films.
Right.
Like,
suspension of disbelief is not an excuse to do whatever the hell you want.
Jaded, listen, the new Super Mario's film, it's for kids, which means it gets a pass on anything it does poorly.
No, I already covered that in my what was that movie?
God, imagine defending a terrible film just because of it's of a franchise you like. and because it's a kids' film, so you shouldn't
No,
make fun of it.
For those watching, the whole excuse of it's a kids' film is pure utter bullshit. Because if
like the Lego movie.
No, the Batman, even I can't even use the Lego movie, but the Batman animated TV show was a comic book TV show aimed for kids. Name me, give me examples of the brain dead stupid in that TV show. Well, there was none. Well, why not? Kids show. It's an animated movie. It's an animated TV show geared for kids. Yet for some reason, it actually has a coherent plot, cohesive storyline, tightly written script, tightly written dialogue. But that doesn't take any of the Mutant Ninja Turtle TV shows.
Yeah, just take anything like some of the old Disney animated films, like The Lion King.
Like you can take take Lion King. Well, that was an animated TV show. That was an animated movie for kids. You tell me all the plot holes in that movie. Oh wait, there were none. So using it's a kids movie to excuse the bullshit stupid is a joke. It's bullshit. Because other ones didn't have to do it, so why does this one have to do it? Well, because it's full of bullshit, stupid.
It's made by a bad writer.
It's like, oh, the writers are on strike. Get AI, and you'll notice the difference. It's like, no, you won't. You won't notice the difference.
The only issue you could bring up with the Batman animated TV series is some things they couldn't do at the time, but they wanted to, and now they're making that like director's cut of it.
Right.
But
again, it's not.
And you brought up the strike, which is funny because these writers, they are worried to lose their job when they are not really good at their job. Otherwise, we would still have solid stuff, you know?
But see, that's the thing though about the topic is that they don't have to be good at writing because these movies still make hundreds of millions of dollars. Like the Fast and Furious movies. Sorry, they're not well written, but they still make, what was it? The Transformers movies. They made what, $1 billion each, I think, right? They weren't well written because the audience doesn't care.
And on top of that, they want like job safety. Like they ask so much. It's hilarious. Like I feel like they think they should be treated as like these president-like people, but they are not. They are there for entertainment, and
they're accountable.
They live in Hollywood and all, and it costs so much to live there. It's like, man, if you're scared that you will starve, just move elsewhere. Anyway, so I think we covered a lot about the second one. I still enjoyed like it. I thought it was a somewhat entertaining movie. I don't think it's a good movie, but I was entertained at least. I mean, time flight, and sometimes the music kind of worked. I really try to defend the movie as much as I can, but it's not great. I think overall for me, it's a 3 out of 10. That was bad. What about you, Cole?
Damn, a 3 out of 10. That is like, so give me some comparisons to that with your ratings.
Hold on, that's like 824. Hold on, a 3 out of 10 is like,
come on.
It's like 824 level movies. Come on, it wasn't.
He rarely gives a 3 out of 10. So damn, like what? Like I believe he gave like I think he might even give like fucking Troll 2 a higher one than that. Holy fuck.
I think I gave 3.5.
Oh my god.
To
gave Troll 2 a higher score.
I think I did. Or if it wasn't 3.5, that was a 3. One of the two.
Yeah, okay. So look, when it comes to character things and like plot holes and stuff and wasted potential, this film's like a 2 out of 10.
It
with
wasn't
how
funny. They tried
yeah,
so hard
and
to be
also with the
funny. I
humor
was
as well.
crying because it
It's
was
like a
bad.
2 to 3 out of 10 on all those things. When it comes to everything else, so and like how it's made, and also the entertainment level and everything else, still, for me, I still pretty much enjoyed it. But yeah, it's not a very good film. At best, I could call it like a solid film. At best, it, yeah, I can't call
Oh,
this very good though, or
I don't
great.
understand
Definitely
you,
not.
Cole.
So yeah, I
Oh,
guess I'll give this like a for me, I guess like around a 5.5. Yeah, for
why?
me before this was like a 6.5 because I didn't know about the comics and everything else as much. But now now today it's like the most I can ever give it is like a 6. But yeah, 5.5 for now. But again, I still like enjoyed it, and there's still enough of the elements there that keeps it from being like a competent, like all right film, but it is a fucking mess in a lot of other areas. And yeah, I just cannot forgive all the characters, things they did, the missed opportunities, the humor that they did to this. Like you had the perfect formula for the most part in the first, and then you butchered it. I'm at least glad they at least for me, at least they rebounded in the third. But fuck, they really dropped the ball in this one. Anyway, Jaded, you can go now.
Again,
How bad do you think it was? Since you don't give
again,
sport.
because it was like, for me, if I were to rate this movie, I would rate it as unnecessary. It was literally an unnecessary movie. It serves no purpose. Like it just like
It's a bad movie.
nothing. Again, I understand it's a bad movie, but I'm saying it's a bad movie in a way that it like Avatar: Way of Water. Okay,
Yeah.
uh, that movie, as beautifully visually as it was, it doesn't do anything. Nothing happens in the movie of any consequence.
Oh yeah, I agree. That
You know what
I thought that was film was also all right overall, and got some enjoyment out of it. But on like a purposeful like level, on like a storytelling and such, like it was pretty much like 90% filler and then rehashing of the same stuff.
Right. So with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I would like I would like a movie where, after having seen the movie, whether it was mediocre or average or half decent or whatever, I want to at least walk out going, at least, how do I phrase this? I want to at least say I'm glad I at least saw the movie. Okay, I want to at the very least, I want to say I'm glad I saw this movie.
Oh yeah, that's what I said about Quantum Mania, because it outside of maybe Jonathan Major's performance, which I mean, unless he's found guilty, but outside of that, though, it made me just scared for the future of the MCU again.
Like Quantum Mania is a great example. Because of Jonathan Major's great acting and character, even though the movie was a piece of crap, I walked out of the movie going, I'm glad I at least saw that, because I got to see that there's actually an actor that actually cares about the role.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't great.
I mean, besides the parts where it was like a CGI mess.
Yeah, but that was the thing, right? Same thing with like the first Black Panther movie. I'm not a fan of the Black Panther. I thought the movie was mediocre at best, but I was glad I saw it because I liked the character and I liked what they did with it, and there was action scenes that were actually worth watching. But with Quantumania or with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, there was just nothing to walk away from going, wow, I'm glad I got to see this movie. Plus, go ahead.
The only thing that really stood out was like the nighttime fight with Raccoon when they were trying to capture him and stuff. I think that was like the only thing I really liked. Well, there are other cool things scene I liked, but like that's the standout thing. I'm like, what? That was good.
I will say that. I mean, again, despite all the issues there and being pissed that they didn't touch on things in the second one that they should have, that then they had to like make this the third extra long to like make up for the things they didn't touch on, and also in like Infinity War and Endgame and such. I I will say there were some characters where I was actually I watched and I saw them did things which where I'm like, okay, I'm at least glad I saw that, and which is mainly two. One of them is the one you just brought up, multi-topic. I did still like Rocket in this and his scenes, and then the second, even though they should have touched on the flashback with him in the second, and then the third, I would say is at least like more the relationship with like Nebula and stuff. You know, even I would say those were the two things I would say.
So, Jaded, any closing thoughts on the second one before we move on to the third one?
The only takeaway from the second one is that it's mostly negative. It's that these guys can do whatever they want. They don't care if again, not just James Gunn, the MCU and Disney. They established that they can do whatever the hell they want. None of the 95% of the audience doesn't know any different, so they don't care. So, one of the things about Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is it was definitive. Going, these movies are no longer for comic book fans. They tried. They at least tried with Phase 1. But with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, they were going, these movies are no longer for comic book fans. They're for the general audience who don't know anything about these characters. And unfortunately, I'm too connected to the source material for me to not be able to separate it. So yeah, there's just too much of this. All I walked away from this movie was going, they screwed up the MCU, cosmic hierarchy. For no visible gain. There was actually nothing gained from it. So yeah, it was a waste. It was unnecessary, and it literally established that they can do whatever they want. Nobody cares.
So I was reading what Cole was saying to me. So okay, I guess we can move to Guardian 3 now.
Right.
I
Yeah.
got like lots of issues with that one. I still think it was better than the second one, but nowhere near as good as the first one.
Again, I would have to rewatch it digitally to notice all of the issues and stuff, because again, I saw it and I didn't, because I've been so busy right now. I didn't think about it after seeing it too much, and I also, whenever I see a film, the theater experience enhances it. So I would have to, again, to get my official like rating and thoughts, you'd have to wait for it. But for now, and I'll just quickly say my small bit here and there. I mean, I think this I enjoyed it the most out of the three. Again, and again, just keep in mind, any majority of issues I wouldn't notice until afterwards, so just keep that in mind. But just for now, yeah, I enjoyed the most out of the three. I think this is actually one of the better films ever in the MCU, because I think there was still some humor that didn't work well this time, but I think most of it, even if it didn't work because humor is subjective, I mean, I guess like it was at least like didn't ruin scenes for me. Besides what they did with Groot, still I loved all the characters in this one and the dynamics, just like the first film. I liked the storyline, at least. I really loved the villain and thought he was intimidating. And yeah, on just every technical and filmmaking aspect, I really loved it as well. I thought, and the music again wasn't like as well done as the first, but it just like the humor didn't take away or damage anything, and it was great music still. So yeah, there we go. And you guys can basically go now, because that's all I have to say. And when I do rewatch it digitally, though, I'll let you know what changes and my official thoughts, I guess. And also, I will say that I do think people just overhype the music in all three of them and think they're like masterful, because they just listen to like the soundtracks online of them and out of the film instead of in the film how they're used. Anyway, one of you can go now.
So I will let you speak a bit, Jaded. What did you think overall of the third one?
Well, I have to say that I have to bring up another movie, which is Spider-Man: No Way Home, because ever since that movie, I would just consider these movies full of brain dead stupid. But now I'm noticing that the whole plot, the whole story is just a broken mess. And I noticed it in No Way Home. And then after that, I just started noticing it in so many of these movies. And with Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the whole plot just doesn't make any sense. Kang just doesn't make any sense. It's like he blows up, like why did he need to blow up the planet? He didn't. There's literally no reason for him to blow up the planet. And it's like, how was he able to blow up the planet? Like, did he build the planet with a bomb in it? So that way, because he knew eventually there was going to come a time that he was going to blow up the planet, and the ship is leaving his office is a spaceship. Why would he make his office a spaceship? Did he somehow know that eventually one day he was going to have to leave the planet? How did he have this foresight? He's just a biologist. And I see the ship, and I see the ship coming up, right? And I'm going, where are you going, Kang? Where are you going? High evolution, like, where are you going? Like, I understand you're trying to escape the planet exploding, but where are you going? The movie has no goddamn clue because it's never going to actually go anywhere. It's going to get destroyed, so it doesn't actually have to go anywhere. And I'm going, like, did you build another planet that you could go to? And if you can build planets, somebody introduced this guy to Galactus. Because if the High Evolutionary is able to build planets, I think, Galactus is going to be ordering off the menu. None of this stuff makes sense. It's like they have this story and they don't care how broken it is. Like, there's a one scene where the High Evolutionary is with Rocket, and there's the machines, and they change, and they put the turtle in, and that turtle, goes through all the evolutionary stages, and Rocket Raccoon goes, oh, here's what's wrong with it, this, and this. And even the High Evolutionary is going, how did you know? Like, it's so blatantly obvious that there's no goddamn way Rocket could know. Even the movie's pointing it out. But the audience is going, yeah, we don't care. We don't care. We're going to have it that there's no way. There's just so many little broken story. The plot is just such a broken mess of brain dead stupid that I can't take the movie seriously. And it's just so common now. And that's my biggest thing with Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is that it's so forced. It's so like you have you get a flashback where the High Evolutionary is with a very young Rocket Raccoon, right? And they're looking out the window and they see the city. And I'm going, well, who are all these people in the city? Like, who are these people? Where are they coming from? Why do they exist? The movie has no idea. So I'm watching it and I'm going, well, what's going on? I can't expect the movie to answer because the movie doesn't know. It's these simple little, it's these little things that people are going to go, oh no, it's just a background scene. And it's like, no, it's not a background scene. It's actually backstory. You can't just do things. This is a little silly one. So the High Evolutionary plans on blowing up the planet, right? Okay. So what was the point of all those small little explosions? What was the point of them? It's irrelevant.
It's to look cool, jaded. It's to look cool.
So if you're gonna blow up the planet anyway, what was the point of planting all these little miniature explosions when in about 10 seconds you're gonna blow up the planet anyway? It's just like Another example. Again, yeah, because it looks cool. Like in the Batman movie, right? There's a scene at the end where all the guys, like, they're at the stadium, right? And all the snipers are ready to shoot people. And then Batman shows up. But before Batman shows up, there's a series of explosions going around, and then Batman comes in. And I'm going, so what? Batman went back to the Batcave to get a bunch of bombs, went back, doesn't care about the fact that there's, snipers or anything. Went, oh, hold on a second, guys. I got to plant all the bombs first. I got to go all the way around because I'm going, how are these explosions happening? Doesn't matter. It looks cool. I'm sorry. I can't shut my, I know I'm supposed to shut my brain off before I watch these movies, but I'm sorry. I still have mental activity when I watch these movies.
And I think this is what makes you interesting to listen to, man. I think the movie is worst, and it's good because I thought what you said made sense more than the movie itself.
I get it. I'm sorry. And the other thing was, what is it with these major villains being taken out by animals? Because you had the High Evolutionary being taken out by a raccoon. It's like, this is supposed to, everybody's bitching about how are we supposed to take Kang seriously. He lost the fight to ants. Like, okay, how am I supposed to take the High Evolutionary seriously when he lost to a goddamn raccoon? But apparently that's okay. It's okay because they liked the character. It's just.
I feel you. I am on your boat, Jaded.
Yeah,
so I have issues of my own. Fun fact, I have seen it in the cinema, so this means I wasn't able to note everything. I basically noted stuff after watching once I got back home. So on my issues, I had 3 plot convenience, but sadly I cannot remember the third one because, as I said, I wasn't taking the notes in the cinema. I just noticed
tons of them.
Yeah, I just noticed a third one that won't show up here. So the first one is Drax knowing the kid's language. He just knows. Don't ask question. If seeds were planted, it would be different. Now, even if it goes into the theme of communication that I like, I still think it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. Why Drax would speak their language? Do you have anything to say?
Oh no, yeah, because the whole. Okay, here's the thing. I understand why the movie did it, because you had Gamora's speech about how Mantis was useless and how Drax was useless. So then they went, well, now we're going to have it that Drax actually has a value, so that way Gamora can eat her words. But it's so forced that there's no way Drax could possibly have known this language. But the movie's going, we don't care. We need to have it so that he does know the language, so that we can have the plot or the story contrast to what Gamora said in the first place. Like, oh my God, he's useless. It's like, no, he's not. He actually knows a foreign language that none of you do. So hey, there is a value for Drax. And it's like, shut up.
My second plot convenience is around the same time. It was hilarious how they just happened to find the kids when they entered the ship. What if they entered the ship in another area of the ship? They would never have found these kids. These kids would have all died in the explosion of the ship in the end.
Why are the kids in the right where the bay door opens? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. And it's not only that. Why are there even? I'm not going to get into it. But another plot.
No. Go into it. I want to hear you. I want to hear you. You're there because you have interesting things.
The thing is that this is what I mean about how the movie doesn't even keep itself. It doesn't even follow its own rules. Because according to the High Evolutionary, it wasn't until I think it was called Project 89, the getting the anger out of those evolved animorphs, right? Well, once he figured out how they work, he went, okay. Well, no, they were Project 90. Rocket Raccoon was Project 89. As soon as he figured out how to get the anger out of them, he went, okay, good. Project 90. Project 89 is garbage. Throw them out. We're going to kill them tomorrow, right? Okay. Well, if you had the kids for years. Well, that means Project 90, the Animorphs, they were irrelevant years ago. So he should have killed off those Animorphs off screen in the past. But the movie couldn't do that because the movie wanted to show how mean he was. Because, again, the only reason High Evolution, everybody hates him, is because he was mean to animals. That was it. So the kids, and not only that, why were the kids in the cage when the kids were the new project? They should have been on the planet the same way the anamorphic animals were. They should have been gone, and the kids should have been on the planet. But the movie's going, yeah, but if we do that, then there's no way they can save the kids, so we have to keep them in the cages in the ship. It's just, again, you're supposed to shut your brain off because that's the only way you can make it through this movie. Here's another plot convenience. Here's another plot convenience. At the end of the movie, when it's the High Evolutionary against Rocket Raccoon, Rocket Raccoon jumps down and starts building a gun, right? And the High Evolutionary just stands there and watches him. Like, he never actually, like what? Does the High Evolutionary not know what a gun looks like? As soon as Rocket Raccoon started building the gun, the High Evolutionary should have used his gravity, powers to stop him. But nope, he just stands there and lets him build the gun and shoot him.
This is hilarious. Man, we like your rant. It's just amazing.
Cole doesn't, especially when I discuss A24 movies.
Next up, too much music everywhere, and sometimes I didn't understand why they added some of the songs. This is the James Gunn syndrome. Here again, some of the jokes didn't land. It wasn't as bad as the second one because I feel like the second one had like a 10% success. Here it was more like a 80% success, 90%. Like I did laugh much more in this one than the second one. Next up would be the villain was kind of shit. It's just generic crazy scientist that loves evolution. I thought he was one-dimensional. He was just mean for the sake of it. Like, there was no deeper things. It was just villain because villain.
Yeah, pretty much.
And this is kind of sad because we have like I know you probably don't like these, but on the CW we had like Arrow that had great villains like Deathstroke and Prometheus, and then we got Marvel that should do it better, and they can't because we get mad scientists in freaking Guardian 3. It's so sad, man. Villain is shit, man. In the last big action piece, enemies couldn't freaking aim again. They are just waiting to get slaughtered. Like they were looking at the Guardian, they had guns and all, and they wait until the Guardian are like in knife range to basically shoot. But even there, they miss the Guardian. So it's like, what's the point of giving them gun if they cannot freaking aim?
Yeah, it's not much. There's not much tension if there's no actual challenge to the fight. So it's just them mopping them up.
And the the other issue, I am Groot joke again and again and again and again. It got on my nerve on the second one, but it's hilarious how in the third one it also got on my nerve. It's like, I get it. That's like the only two words he knows. But, bruh, don't overuse it, man. I was losing my mind. They broke my brain. um, Look, even if I thought it had a lot of issues, I enjoyed the trip. Um, I think this would go into what you call a guilty pleasure because even if I know it's a bad movie, I enjoyed the trip.
Well,
um,
like I don't begrudge anybody liking a movie. You can like whatever you want, but don't pretend that it's not a brain dead. Don't pretend it's not a broken mess of brain dead stupid.
I agree with you. That movie is broken. Even if I liked it, I know it's broken. um, so, um, like there was a lot of action going on, and there was a lot of teams I can enjoy. Like, the biggest team would be communication and second chances. I like both things, and I think they were properly used. And the movie also made me tear up twice.
Oh God.
Man, yeah, yeah. Um, the first time was when I thought Raccoon would die. 'Cause I was like, maybe he will die. Because I haven't seen any spoiler things, so I was like, maybe he will die. But then they kind of undo it, and he is still alive. Because I knew that would be like the moment where Star Lord would get broken. And then the second time I teared up, I actually forgot where. Um, but yeah, I think Star Lord like latching on the past instead of moving on was interesting. Gamora and Nebula, I feel like they both really carried the movie on their shoulders. What did you think of Gamora and Nebula in this movie? Jaded.
Uh, they tried, but the only thing, my only takeaway from the whole Gamora Nebula thing was, did Gamora actually pay Nebula the 100,000 credits that she said that? Because the only reason Nebula helped them was because Gamora said, because Gamora gave her 100,000 credits. And I'm going, where did she get 100,000 credits? And did she ever actually pay Nebula? The actual relationship was meaningless. It was empty. It was nothing.
Okay. Um, what else? What else?
Yeah, sorry.
I I thought Gamora had growth because in the end she kind of cared more about the Guardian than at first. Even if she went back at the Revengers, she still kind of enjoyed them. Um, so yeah, I think this movie, after talking to you, the movie actually got slightly worse, which is
Well,
fine. I still enjoyed it, but
it was always this bad. You just didn't notice it. That's the difference.
yeah. So I would give this movie a 6 out of 10. What about you, Cole?
my rating?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'd give it like again, this is generally because I haven't really thought about the film at all after seeing it for those reasons I said, and I need to rewatch it. So because of that, I'm gonna be the most generous possible with it, and then on a later date, I'll say my true thoughts, and I'll also rewatch this stream to hear all of yours and Jaded's points, and then see. But because of that, though, around like an 8 or 8.5. So yeah.
So I also forgot to mention something else I kind of enjoyed. The idea of people stopping to run away from things and to face off things. I thought that was kind of cool, but that's just me. So Um, now we will move on to more of a DC future aspect before
Yeah.
we
Oh,
let
so I
Jaded.
just read something. Jake Paul starring in his first film soon. Jesus fuck, kill me.
I can't
Kill
hear
me.
you. Maybe come closer.
I know. I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw. Yeah, they said Jake Paul's gonna star in his first film. So I want to jump off the ledge. Nice.
What's Jake Paul?
You don't want to know. Don't worry.
YouTube.
He's one of those annoying piece of shit YouTubers who did like a bunch of let's see, scams, xenophobia, breaking the law, and gets away with it because he's privileged. And people, and despite doing everything that should, where him and his brother, despite being the two people who have done so much bad things, where there should literally be no forgiveness, and when they have done nothing to learn from it, a lot of people just forgiven them. At least the idiots, not the people who still know about it, because that's life for you. It's like, as long as they're still doing like fake boxing matches or wrestling matches where they pay people off, it's all good. Forgive them. It's like, fuck me.
So now we will go on some kind of tangent. We will speak more about DC future because it's in James Gunn's hands. So Jaded, do you have any expectation after learning about his slate? Do you know about Gunn's slate for the DC?
It doesn't matter because James Gunn is going to. Okay, I already did a video covering this.
I'm gonna do Superman.
James Gunn is going to ruin the DC characters like he ruined the Marvel characters. The only difference is that a lot of the people don't know the comic book versions of the characters he destroyed, so they didn't care. But these same fans, they know Superman, they know Batman, they know Wonder Woman. And when James Gunn gets their hands on, like if they thought, you have people getting pissed off over, Zack Snyder's version of Batman or Zack Snyder's version of Superman. Wait till James Gunn gets his hands on them. The DC fanboys are going to go nuts because he's just going to do a very simplistic, basic version of Superman. He's going to do an incredibly basic version of Batman and Wonder Woman and all of these characters because he doesn't care about the source material. He just cares about what he wants them to do and his story. And it's like, be happy now. Wait till the movie comes out, and you guys are going to tear it. All the DC fans are going to tear it apart. That's
so. I get the message that you're not really that hyped. Very interesting.
I saw what James Gunn did with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I saw what James Gunn did with okay. James Gunn, with the Suicide Squad movie, you had Starro the Conqueror. James Gunn absolutely foobarred that character. Totally took Starro the Conqueror and just turned him into a giant
Well, I will
kaiju.
say something quickly, Jaded. It wasn't supposed to be the original, so if I mean, it doesn't change the fact how that fucking scene with Harley Quinn was retarded, but if they bring the original one later into the universe, does it make it a little bit better since this is not supposed to be the real one?
Yeah, I'm saying they took out Starro the Conqueror with rats. That's the equivalent of taking out Thanos by smacking him in the back of the head.
It was stupid,
but again, 99% of the audience doesn't know that. So people are going, oh, with the new Superman, are they going to have Brainiac? Are they going to have Metallo? Are they going to have, those characters? And I'm going, I can't wait to see how James Gunn fucks up Brainiac. And the audience who are all anticipating Brainiac being in the, the DCEU or whatever it's called now, they're going to go, what the hell was this? The same reaction I had to what he did to Starro the Conqueror, all of the DC fanboys are going to have the same reaction to what James Gunn is going to do to Brainiac and Metallo and, Parasite. he's going to ruin them because he doesn't, his knowledge of the comic book characters is give him a picture and that's what they look like. Oh, okay. And then that's it. Like, I'll give you an example. Warlock. Okay. In the movie, Warlock has something on his forehead. And it's like, well, what is that? What's on Warlock's forehead? Well, it sure as hell can't be a soul stone because the soul stones are all gone. But the only reason there's something on his forehead is because somebody showed James Gunn a picture of Warlock and there was something on his forehead. So James Gunn went, okay, let's just put something on his forehead because he doesn't know what's a goddamn soul stone. So if that's how he treats the characters, what do you think is going to happen when he gets his hand on the DC villains or the DC characters? He's just going to do whatever the hell he wants.
That's hilarious. I like that.
Well, he's writing Superman Legacy. I'm sure Jaded's going to love that. Again, I will say with Starro, I mean, yeah, it was stupid how they defeated him. But again, I do have redeeming aspects for things. So yeah, like even though the end and like how they defeated him, like the difficulty level, getting beaten by rats and then Harley Quinn with the fucking spear, which was annoying.
With a magic javelin that we don't even know what powers it has.
With again the scene itself, how it was filmed and stuff, and just crafted. Was super well done though, and there were other redeeming aspects in it for me. So because so I have that for films where I'll agree with you, but because of everything else, I don't like hate it like you do. Like that is an issue, but doesn't mean I hate the scene overall.
The only thing more ridiculous than that scene is hearing people's defense of that, because I'm going, why? What's his name? Idris Elba's character. Wasn't Manhunter.
But you don't like Warren's defense of like how there's so many rats in the city biting him.
No, not that.
What guys are talking about? I'm lost.
I forget Idris Elba's character. I forget his name in the movie because I only see him as Idris Elba in everything I see because I love the character. I love Idris Elba, so I just see Idris Elba.
If he was in the movie,
are you talking about the projectiles? Why you didn't shoot in the eye?
He shoots at him, and he never once aims for this giant eye in the middle of the body.
Well, doesn't it deflect?
And why? It hits the body, and you see the explosions. So it's not like he's got a force field. That was another bullshit defense. It wouldn't affect the eye. So let me see if I get this straight. It can affect the body, but it won't affect the eye. Why not? Oh, I don't know because
he uses a force field thing like in front of him.
Really? Did you? So then, all you had to do was have Idris Elba's character shoot once at the eye, show that it has a force field, and that's why it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that could have been shown. Sure.
The movie doesn't even bother doing that. People had to come up with bullshit excuses to justify how badly this movie screwed up. And then
what guys are talking about? I'm lost.
In the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie, that big giant.
Okay, I see that.
A big giant starfish. Okay, that was Star of the Conqueror. I had one person's defense was, bullets are don't have a point. That's why it wouldn't penetrate the eye. But because the spear is pointy, that's why it was able to.
Okay, that's framed.
That's your justification.
I think again, I'm not disagreeing. They should have explained it better, shown it better, like have a scene where he tries shooting for the eye. But I think what they were getting at with it though was that again they were trying to damage it in the nerve so that it wouldn't use the full speed to shoot for the eye.
No, Cole. The reason they never had his character shoot at the eye is because if he shot at the eye would have been destroyed, and Harley Quinn would have never been able to have her seen. Okay, so they purposely avoided having Idris Elba's character shoot him in the eye, so they never had to worry about it. Because Idris Elba's character's too stupid to go, hey, why don't I aim for the eye and blind it? Well, that would make sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Rest in peace, the eye.
I mean, that's definitely why she had the spear the whole movie. Again, all the Harley Quinn stuff.
She never uses it for no reason. She wakes up and and there's the guy with the javelin, and for no reason picks it up and carries it around the whole movie. For no reason.
Yeah, well, again, I think, the Harley Quinn stuff I hate, besides, like, some moments. I hate her character and old scenes involving her throughout the whole movie and all her lines. She's the worst part of it by far. And that's definitely why she had the spear the whole movie and then did that. But again, what they were trying to get at, though, was that, they were trying to injure it so then it, and mess up, like, its nerves or, so it's all over the place. So then it wouldn't have the force field using its force shield over there. Now,
how do you know it has a force shield, Cole?
Well, they showed it in the bullet scene. I'm not saying like a force field. I mean, that one thing they showed with the blocking the bullets, deflecting it.
No, because it actually hits the body and explodes. Before
that with the military.
You have the shark guy climbing it and attacking it. There's no force field on Starro. There's none.
Just around the eye. With the.
Oh, just around the eye for some brain dead reason.
Yeah. That's how they made the character. That's what they showed in the first scene with the military trying to shoot at its eye.
They all went for its eye, so yeah, and that's why it deflected all. So they were just trying to injure it, so then it wouldn't be doing that because it would mess up its nerves or be in too much pain trying to block everywhere else and move around. And then that's why I eventually did with the rats, because it was biting literally everywhere else besides the eye. So then she had the chance to. Now again, they didn't really explain it. They didn't really show it as well, and it's still a stupid way to beat him.
Okay, so then how did the javelin penetrate the force field?
Because all the rats damaged it in literally every area.
No, it was before the rats, because she penetrates the eye, falls into the eyeball, then the rats come in. So if eyeball
around it was biting everywhere else.
If the eyeball has a force field, how did the javelin make it through the force field?
Because the force field was off at that point, because all the rats were damaging it in every part with it, like its nerve system probably. So it was either off or he was too concentrated with the rats on him in literally every other place.
And you got this because the movie explained. So the movie showed that.
That's what they were basically going for, but the movie didn't explain it well. I'm not disagreeing with that, so it didn't work.
There you go.
Yeah, I didn't disagree with that. I'm saying that's what they were going for, though. And again, all the other redeeming aspects of it. That's why I don't hate the scene.
Okay, so that's what they were going for, but they screwed it up.
Yeah.
Okay, then. So what's the difference? They still screwed it up.
Yeah. I don't know. That we could have a long conversation about it.
The end result is the same thing. Here's what they were going for, but failed. Well, thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
So, is there any movies in the slate that you're kind of hyped about, or really you don't care at all because we all know your love?
There's a new Highlander film coming out by the guy who directed the John Wick films.
It's not going to work.
Yeah, but still, it's Highlander, so we'll look forward to it, just like the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which we'll watch eventually.
No. I'm not going to look at it the same way, because the thing with the Highlander movie was that's one of the handful of movies where the soundtrack was actually relevant, and they're not going to be able to do that with the new Highlander movie, because it's not going to. Because even if they use the same Queen songs, because again, those were songs specifically written for the movie. And those songs actually help establish, backstory and, plot.
Yeah, well, I will say they do that in other movies, and I've seen it in movies and video games. They do make it like that. Like, I remember playing this game, Quantum Break, where they used the song Toto Africa, and it had a huge, thing in the game, so they have done it before.
Again, I'm not saying Highlander's the only one. There have been a handful of movies that have done that. But with if they remake Highlander, you're going to lose that, and that's a big part of why I love the movie so much.
It's going to focus on the action because he's the John Wick director.
Well, of course, and and they're going to be doing again. It's the same thing with the swordplay. I don't want to see highly choreographed fight scenes because it serves no purpose to me. I don't want to see a dance routine in a movie. It's just a dance routine. But the only there are two DC movies I am looking forward to, Flash and Aquaman, because I did like the first Aquaman movie.
Oh, very interesting. So you do like movies?
When they're not full of brain dead stupid or a broken mess of brain dead stupid, sure. But
another question, because you brought the Flash movie. Will you support the movie despite Ezra Miller craziness?
I don't give a rat's ass about what Ezra Miller did.
Hundreds of people work on films to boycott it because of one of them. Is just.
I've known directors and actors that have done way worse than Ezra Miller has, and guess what? I still watch their movies, and I still think they're some of the best directors and some of the best.
Let's not bring up Roman Polanski.
I mean, I'm sorry. I don't care what Woody Allen did. I still think Woody Allen is one of the rare comedic geniuses.
Oh yeah, and people try to say nowadays that his films aren't anything special at all, or he only has like one or two good films, like amazing films.
Because they don't understand the relevance of the movies at the time that they came out.
That, and because everything he did is now no longer original.
Right. It's like trying to show people the Marx Brothers movies, and it's like, you have to understand that type of comedy didn't exist back then. They invented that. So you watch an old Marx Brothers movie, you're going, yeah, well, it's not that funny because I'm used to, Bill Burr and Louis C.K. and Chris Rock. But back then, that didn't exist. So it's like, but yeah, I can give you at least three directors that have done way worse than what Ezra Miller does, and I can give you a handful of actors that, like, what's his name? The guy from who played Kobayashi in Usual Suspects.
Oh, that guy, I forgot.
Right, like that actor. Okay, I'm sorry. I was more pissed off at his portrayal of Lex Luthor than what he did in real life. So yeah, I really don't care about what the actor's done.
Mm-hmm. So that's very interesting, all of that. So now that we are kind of done with Guardian,
Also I will say one thing. There was one thing I wanted to ask you. So in the first and second Guardians films, they didn't get a music thing, but yeah, they got nominated for visual effects and costume design. I just wanted to ask you, was there any of those two things you think it should have won?
No, I don't. Again, I don't care about what the Oscars pick.
I mean mainly like multi-topic because I know you don't care. I can say you've seen Interstellar. It won visual effects over Guardians 1, so that was the main thing I wanted to get at. Which one would you pick for visual effects over the other, Interstellar or Guardians 1 in 2014?
To be honest, Interstellar is very, very far away in my memory, so I cannot really tell. Man, all I remember is the Color Fest and the different planets. That's pretty much it. I can't even remember the music that was in. That movie was so forgettable, to be honest. I'd say I like the soundtrack. The first one had the best music, I think. The second and the third one had overuse of music, but I still enjoyed the music. So
yeah,
maybe the first one. I really don't know. As I said, Interstellar, I can't remember. That movie is just too far away. It's like 6 years ago, and as we say, don't use it, lose it. And I don't use that part of my memory, so I lost it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think the music was fine. I enjoyed the music. It's more like the use that felt wrong in the second and the third one. So yeah, I guess now this is it for Guardian. So thank you very much, Jaded, to join us.
No problem.
That was amazing. So since you haven't seen Antiviral and The Witch, we will let you go for now. So is there any video or stream you'd like to plug?
Again, I just made a video explaining what a broken mess of brain dead stupid Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse is, but that's about it.
I need to see that one. I need to see it. I need to see it. I like it.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll need to review that film. God, there's oh, it's so hard to review so many films on this stream because God, we're trying to review like older films and then also franchises and then director filmographies, but then there's also the ones coming out this year. But then there's also ones that pop up where like, oh, that's a good idea. It's so hard.
Oh yeah, because there's just so many. The problem is that there's just so many. Like there are more movies coming out in a year than
Yeah,
that
like
came
I
out.
even look back in 1994, it says only like 5,000 came out, and like 1995 and such and so on, and back and even further back, maybe in like 2000, and now in like the last like 15 years, it says like 25,000 or
Like,
30,000.
a lot of those movies, like when you talk about the 5,000, a lot of those movies also include the foreign films and movies with like a 1 day limited release. So it's like it's not like 5,000 movies were made in Hollywood that year is what it is. It's just it's worldwide. And but again, like, you go back to like the 1970s and you're not getting 5,000 movies a year. You're getting like maybe 200-300. So you can actually go back and you can you know digest all of the older movies and you're not going to feel lost. Because again, how I've seen movies I've seen direct to video. I've seen like Christ, I don't even know how many movies that never even saw a theatrical release because they were just direct to videos. So you had the opportunity. Now you can't keep up. You can't keep up. It's just like collecting comics. Like back in the '60s, you could buy every MCU. You could buy every Marvel comic. Now you want to buy every Marvel comic that comes out every week. It's going to cost you what over $2,000-3,000. So it's like it's just way too much.
Man, as I said, thank you very much for joining us in the
No
future.
problem.
For sure, we will invite you again. We will cover more MCU stuff later on. Right now, we are more like in DC, and even there, it's more like TV shows level. And I know you're not the biggest fan of the TV shows and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
I guess it's not really that much. I'm not really much of a TV person, so
yeah,
bring
but
me
yeah,
bring me on, bring me on when we do an A24 movie. Then I'll.
perfect, perfect.
No,
So
actually, we're doing some soon. I believe next week we're actually doing. We already watched Hereditary, but we're gonna do Midsommar and Beau's Afraid.
Problem though. I just realized this. I can't do an A24 movie review because then that would mean I'd have to actually sit and watch the damn thing. And
Hey, you know what? At least try to. How about this? We're gonna do.
if we cover the first 24 minutes, I'm good.
Oh man.
I'm just glad the studio wasn't called A100 because then I couldn't handle it.
But yeah, thank you very much, Jaded. I
No
will
problem.
reinvite you a lot. I like your take, and I've seen lots of your videos, and I really like your content. So it's kind of an honor to have you on, and it's not the last time. I'm telling you, man.
Okay, no problem.
Have a good night, man. Take care.
Hey guys.
So this is you and I.
Yeah.
So
So I do have
I
some notes written down, but I'm gonna be fast with it because yeah,
I
I
guess we will start with antiviral.
right.
Uh,
So yeah, this was again in the future. again, it is so hard. I realize because life is so short, just how to get through all these movies with all of us, to watch all of them. So I don't know. Maybe in the future I won't bother. Like besides special directors like maybe Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese, where all their films are worth watching, I probably won't be doing like full director things again unless their things are short, because they try to shorten it, or if or I'll see. After we get through maybe the next little while of films, I'll probably like focus on the ones from 2023 that get released that are well received, and also ones that are like at the very top of like IMDb and Letterboxd top 250 lists to start again. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I decided to pick this one, and also Possessor and Infinity Pool, because Infinity Pool was another film that released in 2023 to add on to our list of 2023 films we'll be watching throughout the year to get a good understanding of the year, which we will do from now on instead of watching not many in the current year. So yeah, this was released. A lot of people saw it. A lot of people liked it. Some people didn't. So yeah, and it's a trippy film. So I was like, yeah, we'll watch it, but I guess we should. The director's filmography is short, so I guess we can watch his other two. And this was his first one, and then his second was Possessor, which I guess we'll watch at a later time, and then Infinity Pool at a later time, I guess. But yeah, this was his first, so it was a lot more low budget and smaller scale. But yeah, and if you don't know the history of the director, basically he's his name is Brandon Cronenberg. I don't know if you know who David Cronenberg is. Yeah, he's pretty famous. You probably heard his name, and he's done stuff like The Fly, and just many fantastic like thriller films that are like similar to this, or but really well received and considered some of the best, mainly The Fly. And yeah, this is his. He's 80 years old, and then this is his son, who's like 40 now, I believe. And yeah, I just decided to start making films as well, I guess. And yeah, this is his first. The actor, I believe, is like Caleb Landry Jones, whatever his name is. I completely forgot what it was fully, but yeah, pretty underrated actor, I would say. He did this other film like last year called Night Tram, which was great. But yeah, now my overall thoughts on the film to start is yeah, I thought it was solid. Definitely like not the strongest. Definitely like a a debut feature length film by somebody, even if he's made like 30-minute short films before this. But there was a lot to like about it for me. There's a lot of like interesting concepts and thought provoking things to dive into. A lot of great visuals, a lot of great like horror shots and body horror in this, and things to think about in society that have also aged really well now with the new stuff they've been doing now. Like it's getting pretty creepy. The film predicted it very well since it was in 2012 only. So yeah. Um, Now, obviously, since it was his first, it didn't have as high of a budget as, and he wasn't as experienced with directing. So there were some missed opportunities there, but to really take it to the next level. And but yeah, it's still good. And also, I think this film could have been shorter. I feel like they could have made it like a 60 to 70-minute film instead of like a 2-hour film. It would have improved it, in my opinion. Um, Now, let's see. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I'm just reading my notes down, so sorry if I'm a little chaotic. Yeah, I thought it would run out of ideas with its premise and messages about society and such about like by the 30-minute mark, I would say. But it kept exploring more and more that I did not, yeah, expect, and especially that conflict they added, which I really enjoyed. Yeah, lead performance was great. Um, Pretty much all the performances were really good. And I'm also glad that Malcolm McDowell was in here. He was the lead in one of my favorite films of all time, which we'll eventually get to when we watch Stanley Kubrick's films, which was Clockwork Orange. So it's always nice to see him in anything. He was the old doctor character at the mansion, and yeah, that's about it. But yeah, enjoyable film. pretty solid, nothing too special, but it's a good debut film for somebody with good messages, good potential, good like things to think about, good potential. It shows, yeah, it kind of felt like a Black Mirror episode, which we'll be watching the show soon, which is only like 4 episodes each season, so on the schedule. So yeah. Anyway, you can talk quickly if you have anything to say. I know you hated the sound in this.
Oh my, the sound. Oh my, oh my. People were like talking really low most of the time, or they were freaking whispering. And this time around, I will blame the direction, I guess, because even if the sound like is not perfect, if you ask your staff to always whisper or like talk really low, that's a you issue, you know. And I feel like
Yeah.
this movie just does it, you know. And
Well,
the
I will
sound
say
was
I turned it
bad.
up to. I have my Volume Master app on that you can download on Google Chrome. I turned it up to 200, like I do with every film, and it was pretty fine for me. There were like whispers, there were audio dialogue that I could only hear with subtitles on, but for the most part, it was fine to me. And I think the more low pitched voices and like the main character and such kind of fit the theme to it, and with like how he's feeling with always taking these sicknesses. But so yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know how much of it though on your side is like the film's fault, or is this the sound mixing that happens when they try to when it goes from something to another thing with like headsets. It's a real issue that has been happening with like every film recently, which really sucks. But yeah, all I'll say is this. Yeah, for next time, try to download Volume Master when you
But
can on Google
that's
Chrome.
that's funny because I don't get these issues with like the Marvel's movie. It's more like the horror type.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that's
Gone
fine.
Girl had perfect sound. Like most of the time, it works very well for me. It's
Yeah,
just
well, the
like
Marvel sounds. It's because they have the high enough budget to do it with more and with
yeah.
more indie stuff. Yeah, and also with Nolan stuff, the opposite happens because the theaters are usually shit, and he does like stuff that is only made for like the most premium theaters. So then it sounds like shit, but then you watch the film on headset and you can hear it better. It's a really weird thing with films going on. But either way, all I'm gonna say is whether it's the film's fault, which I'm not sure if it quite was, but I could be wrong, at least in some of it, or it was completely the film's fault. Just in the future, yeah, download that on Google Chrome. Again, it's just called Volume Master, and we'll give you like a blue bar thing, and turn it up if you're having issues with hearing characters with the audio.
The next stop would be the lightning wasn't always great. There are places where it's freaking dark. I can't see shit. Or when they were at nighttime most of the time, that was terrible. The pacing, as you said, was kind of shit. It
I
was
mean,
way too slow. The
for
mo-
me, mainly the pacing that was really off for me was, I would say, about like 15 minutes after the opening because it was dragging on a little bit with the same stuff, and I thought that would be like the whole film, but then it wasn't. And then there was some stuff when, like, in the middle of the film, when after he got introduced to the celebrity, realizing she was still alive, there was some stuff in the middle of the film with him like revisiting her that dragged on a bit. But other than that, I thought the pacing did pick itself up in the second half.
I feel like this movie could have been like an hour and like 20 minutes
I feel like
straight
an
up.
hour and yeah, an hour and 10 or 15 minutes. Like yeah, that's the main thing. Main thing. It could have been a shorter film, and it would have lost nothing. But whatever.
When I say 1 hour and 20 minutes, that's with the credits, you know. We got like 1 hour and 48 minutes. That's like, man, I placed the movie on the background. I was doing something else. Like
Uh,
I tapped out
that's
fast.
in. It's fine.
And I, man, same thing happened with the witch. I also tapped out fast. But yeah, antiviral was really rough. I still kind of liked ideas that were brought up, like the lore about people creating virus Oath can't give is interesting. The acting was good. The main character learning a celebrity died was good. Well, that's before the plot twist. The main character getting forced to share the virus, the main character learning he got involved in something sinister, the main character learning there was an attempt to kill the celebrity, the scientist, researching the main character body to understand his illness. Uh, these things are like the only things I could say I can enjoy. Like, as I said, a lot of ideas were interesting. The fact that, oh yeah, people are that crazy. They like so much their celebrity that they want to taste them. That's kind of
Yeah,
weird, but that's accurate.
yeah.
So yeah, as I said earlier, I don't have much to say. These are my likes and dislikes. Um, I think this movie is for me a 7 out of 10. It's average. It's a case where I value the movie because I know it's not a bad movie, but I just didn't really connected with much with it, and that's not a movie I would ever rewatch. And
Yeah.
among the seven, I think it's somewhere in the middle. There are
hmm
worst sevens, and there are like better sevens.
that's fair enough. Again, this is another case where I mean, I thought I figured you wouldn't like hate it like Evil Dead Rise, but maybe give it like a 6 or a 7 because of some values. But again,
Evil Dead
figured it would
Rise
also
was just a terrible
yeah.
movie.
I
And
figured though, there'd be some things there, but I knew you probably wouldn't still be that into it. So, but again, we just watching these because leading up to that Infinity Pool. So again, this is why in the future I think I might not just I probably won't do besides certain directors or certain franchises we want to cover. I probably won't be doing it, and again for the near future, we'll just be working on 2023 films and films that are highly regarded or ones as classics or some of my favorites, and then any others by certain filmmakers here and there we can get to if we want. Besides the ones where it's like there's a franchise film that comes out this year, so we have to watch all the
yeah,
others prior to it. Yeah, this is why I'm thinking of just doing that now. I think it'll be easier for us and it will help us get through more of like the films that are worth seeing before we die first, and then we can explore stuff like this. I think.
yeah. So anything? What would be your grade out of 10?
For me, like a 6 out of 10.
Okay. For you, it's a 6. Oh, that's interesting. Our score almost connect.
Yeah, but again, yours is mine means average. Mine means like good to solid. And again,
Yeah.
I had this film before at a 5 out of 10, so it's between average to good for me. So we're about the same. I just I value the average rating a bit more though because I'm
Yeah.
both a bit more strict with how I rate certain films, but I'm also at the same time pretty generous because even though I don't hand out many 10 out of 10s or 9 out of 10s for the top tier ones otherwise, and I'm more strict with that. I'm also I still love films, so if it gets a 5 out of 10, it still means it's really enjoyable for me. It just means there's a lot holding it back still as well, or it just isn't as special as most other films.
So The Witch. Except if you'd like to add more to
No,
Antiviral.
that's about it. And again, The Witch. So this was one of A24's earlier films, and this was also the film that this was, I believe, it might I forgot if this was like her first role or just the role that got her fame, but otherwise it's one of the two with Anya Taylor Joy. This was either her first film role or the one that got her brought her fame. So that's interesting. But this was also Robert Eggers' debut feature, and he made a short film before this called Brothers, which was sort of similar style to The Witch, which was just like two brothers going out hunting, which was made to get this film backed by somebody by showing his worth as a filmmaker. And this was a time where I was really starting. This was a time where I was both. I didn't watch like many older horror films. I didn't know about like the true classics yet, but I was still into horror, and I loved watching each new ones that came out. But I was getting tired of just all the jump scare crap that was coming out. I was getting really tired. Then the Babadook and this came out, and I was really relieved because yeah, no shitty jump scares. Just it relies on purely the music, the tension, the visuals, the performances, and all that, the atmosphere and all that to get its horror. And I think it worked wonderfully. There are some things that didn't transition as well as it went forward to screen since he was like a theater guy before this, so he didn't truly understand some things at the time. So this could have been a bit better. It is a feature length debut film for him, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought this was an excellent film. I really love how it was made, performed. I love the idea of it. I I love the horror aspects of it. I love all the folklore stuff. I thought it was really entertaining for me. Like stuff like this is kind of like my type of film. This like dark, you know, this dark thriller atmosphere, horror-ish type films like this in The Lighthouse. It's not for everybody. Like I don't think it's really for you. I'm sure I don't know if you're really into these films, but for me, I really like these films. And of course the good versions of ones you really like would I guess be stuff like Black Swan. But yeah, but what did you think?
So that was very rough. I will be honest. Like when movies takes place with middle age era stuff, I struggle. I don't take away necessarily points for it, but my struggle comes to I find characters stupid because our own history is really stupid. So something I will hold against the movie by any means. It's just that it makes it hard for me to just connect and care, if you know what I
Mhm.
mean. Like I
I
won't
mean,
say
I
it's a
mean, for
bad
me, I
movie.
find it. This is what I will say. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I'll say this: I find it, even though they're kind of stupid, because yeah, it's older days. People are stupid, a bit stupider back then. Maybe more hard working, but hey,
It's accurate.
well, both it's accurate, but here's the thing: just we never seen this in firsthand, this type of world. So you're being teleported into this universe you don't know of. So that's interesting, isn't it? Is it not? So that's what I get out of it. At least that's why I find it interesting because of that aspect of it. So I will say in the future, I mean, if we ever when we see like one of these like 1800 1700 like it takes place in films again, I would say maybe try to think about it like that, and maybe you might get more enjoyment out of it. Maybe not guaranteed. Just try to think of it like you're being teleported into like a world you're not familiar with, and you're going to like learn about it and experience it. I
I
don't know.
just can't, bro. As much as I want to, I just can't. Like in the past, we used to be so stupid because science was only to some specific group of people, and it wasn't globalized the way it is today. And we used to be really retard. We are still kind of stupid in 2023, but we are smarter than the people in the 1600 or 1700. And like it's accurate. That's why I cannot take away any points from that, but it's just very hard for me to not like cringe and roll my eyes on these people streaming that's a witch, that's a monster, that's this, that's that. It's like, man, these things don't exist, man. But in this 1600 and 1700, they kind of thought it existed, and they used to call like people with mental illness and stuff crazy witch, monster, demons and stuff. But that's because they didn't understand mental illness the way we do today. This is why I think people are really dumb, and religion is such a huge part of our past. And I hate religion at its core because it's a control tool. Like the idea is good, but it's men that corrupted religion, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think that the film like show. I think a lot of films, including this one, shows that though, and like how they really don't know shit. no, so it starts because they were banished from doing something, so they did that, and then it's like they believe these things, and these like just in their mindset, and it just leads to nothing but bad back and forth. It's
So
pretty
as
interesting.
as I said, I didn't take away any points from that. I'm just saying that
Yeah, no,
it's
it's
really
fine,
hard
and
for me
it's
to
fine to just
just
say like you
connect.
don't, and you're just not into a film. That's fine. Like there's nothing
Um,
wrong with that.
and it's more like that era that I'm not really into. Like, if that's more like a historic accurate thing than a horror, maybe I would like it more. Like, more of a drama that takes place back in the day. Like, as much as woman talking wasn't great, I think the idea was there, and I enjoyed what they were trying to do. I think the execution was an issue, but that was something we could say that that's in the past, like that's in the 1900 or 1800, and my issues were elsewhere with that movie. But yeah, I think when it's a grounded thing, I would connect more. But now because it's horror and it's in the middle age, it has a rough start for me. Um, so here's my issues. Now that's funny because I don't have that many issues, but as a side note, I wasn't invested at all because of what I just told you. I placed the movie in background pretty fast. Um, there are still a few issues here and there. The sound was bad in the church scene, which is like the first scene in the movie. Then it got better. Um, After that, another issue: too many characters. Like, I didn't know who was doing what, which character was what. Like, there's like two sisters, three sisters, and like the mother. Like, I feel like there's just too many characters, or they all look the same and they all act the same. I don't know,
Oh,
man.
really? You
I
thought
was
so?
lost. And yeah, I was
Right,
lost
right,
with
really.
the actors.
There was like the maid on the trilogy, the main character. Then there was the son. Then there were the two little kids, and then there was the mother and the father.
It that's another thing. Like, when it's middle age, everyone dressed the same and everyone thinks and speak the same.
Yeah, but I mean, they were all different age ranges, though. So
I won't, as I said, I won't hold it against the movie, but
yeah,
that's
yeah, no,
just
I
how
know. I'm
I
just
I
wondering like how you got confused. So when they're like different age ranges.
it's their clothes, them speaking um like Caleb. I know his name, but I cannot tell a single thing about his personality, like his character trait. I would be like, I would the F is he? Maybe it's because as I said, I wasn't that invested. Like, I cannot tell a single thing about the characters, and like maybe like the crazy girl that was considered a witch did some witchcraft thingy there by accident, or she has like some kind of mental illness.
Yeah,
It's
it's all for interpretation there, I believe. But yeah, it's and also the fucking what do they call it? A goat again? Fucking
that's
like
the devil,
black
that's the
Black
demon.
Phillip or whatever.
Yeah, Black Phillip. Yeah,
Something like that. I don't know, but yeah, that was great.
I feel like every character was the same, and they didn't really feel like different entities, and that's a thing that happens a lot with me when I watch middle-aged stuff. You really need like colorful character for me to be like, yeah, uh, I like these characters, and there's another thing I will say, but that's not really like something that took away points. It's more like a lot of middle-aged horror movie or a lot of middle-aged stuff. They make it really like gray-ish, and they really wanted to take away any colors, but like there's still colors. It's not black and white, but the color scheme is really
Yeah,
dark, and
yeah. Well, for
I'm
this,
not.
I think it fits though because they were in like the area they were in. Just it was, a it makes sense for it, and I think it just fits the color I think the color gradient fits the theme and the area of the film this time. But I do understand what you mean. There are films that just do it automatically. Just think that's the mindset for any films of this time period now.
Yeah.
It happened at a lot of points in this one. I believe the world to come. I watched the other day, and they did it at points, but for the most part, it worked. But a good example of it being annoying and not working, and just how it's like a cliche people do all the time is women talking. It's like they were just like, even though it wasn't at as much of that time period as it was just an Amish, thing. It's like it was still like the sort theme of it because Amish is like basically that time period for them in that world, and so it's like they just put a gray color thing on it the whole film, and it's like you didn't have to do that. You could have just filmed every scene in like the afternoon and the fucking night. You didn't have to, like, you can just make it so you can just like whatever. It was kind of annoying.
It feels like they only want like these gray skies, and there's never like sunlight and never a freaking sun out there, and that's all I feel, man.
Yeah, I will say the world to come outside of like 10% of it, it didn't do that though. It's like it mainly just the winter scenes that did it, but outside of that, it's a
Winter
film.
scene, I would be on board because
Okay, well, if you're on
that
board with it, then okay. Like for the rest of the film and that one, which it takes place in, yeah, it didn't do that, and that's one thing I'll appreciate. And it still looked
winter
amazing.
winter when it's depicted, if it's depicted right, I'm fine with it. But I just feel like the atmosphere of most middle-aged movies, they're like, oh yeah, uh we like gray, black, and white, so this is like your color scheme. But if it's like in a place where there's a lot of snow, I'm like, at least they kind of do their research, or at least they kind of know that when there's snow it's kind of dark. So that's one thing, but yeah, I want my colors, and sometimes I would be like, okay, that choice fits the movie and stuff, and I sometimes enjoy like less colorful stuff. It doesn't always need to be colorful, but I think my true issue there, or I should say the true thing here, is I feel like I've seen that kind of things play out already too many times. Like, oh, it's the middle age, we don't know what colors are. that
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
yeah.
um
Well,
so
I do think this was an exception though, where it made sense and it was done right and it was looked well, in my opinion. That's
yeah,
just me because I've seen many films like it, and I think this was done pretty well out of all of them. But that's
next up, lightning was bad. Man,
really.
it's nighttime. I get it. Flames are the thing to make some light because that's the middle age. But you can work this one out, like when you edit or when you work on your movie after you're done shooting, or man, add other lights. I don't know, man. Like,
I mean, for me, that's never really been an issue with any of Robert Eggers' three films, which I mean, you haven't seen the third one of, but like
when
I
it's
understand what you
nighttime, I
feel.
want to see what's going on, and I feel like
I feel like you do though. Like I saw what was going on.
half of the time when it was nighttime, I couldn't see shit. I was like,
Really?
"What's going on?" Well, yeah, what's going on? Like,
Wow. I mean, I don't know. For me, I watched it and the other ones, and I didn't really have an issue. Anytime it was like a bit too dark, it was done intentionally, where there wasn't anything else to see besides that, and it was done to keep you like keep the mystery going on. But other than that, I mean, I thought it showed everything pretty well, and I didn't have any issue with like what I saw. I don't know, and I think the natural lighting was is done in his films is done like some of the best I've seen because he's a theater. He was started out as a theater guy, and theater stuff is known really well for like proper natural lighting. So
so next up, sound again, and here's my take. The sound wasn't even. At places, it was good, great. At others, it sucked. It was bad. It's hilarious, man. Like, Antiviral, that was like from start to finish, the sound was kind of shit. But here, like, yeah, lots of moments where I was like, the sound is actually good. I can hear what's going on, what they're talking about. The other place, I was like, I was coming close to my screen because my speaker was like near my screen. I was like, what the fuck are they saying? What's going on? um, so that's like when your sound is not even. It could be artistic choice, but even there, man.
But what I will say, any that are intentional, it's because what they're saying isn't important at all. So they do it to make it like realistic. They did that with like one line of dialogue in Tenet. But any others, again, I remember watching this digitally and in theaters, and I didn't have my volume turned up, extra, and I didn't have any issue with it. So I don't know. Like again, I don't know. Maybe I'll rewatch it and see. I didn't have any issue with it personally.
And it's funny because my sound usually works very well. It's maybe it's my website, I don't know, but maybe it's the movie, man. You can like a movie with shit sound. You have
Yeah.
every right to do so.
Yeah.
Look, when it's a more serious studio and stuff, I feel like the sound most of the time works well, except if it's like Christopher Nolan and he has weird stuff happening with sound. But yeah, like less known studios like A24, I think it's A24 that did this one.
Yeah.
They got less money, so maybe they just don't spend as much money for the sound, and they splash it all in all other places they can, and it's fine. But sound, man, you need good sound, please, especially when it's a movie where you need to hear your character, because I think most important things are not really shown in this movie. They're more like told between characters, what they think, what they feel. It's not really something visual. There are a few visual scenes, like in the end when Black Phillip kills the father, and then when the daughter is basically attacked by her mother, and then she kills her mother, and this is very visual. But that's like one of the few pieces where it's actually visual, and most of the movie and most of the things that are going on in the movie are people talking to each other. um, when your movies like that, I think you should place more money on sound, because you really want the audience to get what's going on. So, like, yeah, um, I still had a few likes, not a lot, but I had a few. The music, talking about how bad winter tends to be. The sisters, the boy meeting the weird girl in the woods. For child actors, they did great job, and that's it. The rest, either I didn't care or I didn't like. um, for me, this movie is a 7.5 out of 10. I thought that was slightly better than Antiviral, and the main reason why is I guess the pacing was fine. I think the pacing is really what made Antiviral worst. So for me, like The Witch, 7.5 out of 10 for me. And I don't remember making a lot of 7.5, but that would probably be my least favorite 7.5 out of 10. So right now we are waiting for Cole to come back. Something came up. Something came up. So we are almost about to hit the 3 hour mark. And that was the bonus episode. I cannot wait to have DC back next week. It will be good. DC, you are amazing. We miss you.
Yeah, my
Um,
bad. So I guess you wanted my rating.
so yeah, 7.5 out of 10 for me. And if I gave other 7.5, I think that one is worse than any other 7.5 I gave. I gave this movie because, as I said earlier, even if it's not my cup of tea, even if I don't enjoy it that much, I value it because I think the production and stuff is decent. It's a well done movie despite my issues. So yeah, like if I was just going like all the way in like enjoyment only, it would be a three. I really didn't like it, but I value this movie because I think there's value to it. So with that being said, what is your score out of 10?
Give it probably a 9.
Okay. Man, as usual, thank you very much. I had a blast this week, and as I said earlier, we will have a Jaded on in the future. It will be very interesting to have DC and Jaded in the same stream. That big contrast, because I think Jaded is the most critical of all of us, and I really liked the fact that he came and he really brought something different to the podcast. Um, so, any closing thoughts, man?
No, that's about it. But yeah, hopefully next week we'll have more time. So yeah, I forgot what we're everything we're gonna cover next week. But yeah, after we get done with like the Star Wars stuff and Terminator and Alien and all that stuff, we're gonna start recommending now just a bunch of other films from 2023 and then other classics mainly we're gonna stick to, like,
Yeah,
and then in the future we might do like more filmographies, and then who knows, maybe sometime in the future, like 3 years, we could do that director list. But I think for now we're gonna stick to that. Like for example, like we could like do a marathon of like Martin Scorsese's filmography, and we might with other directors who have a shorter filmography, but with how many films he's done, which is like 25 or 26, like I think it would just be better to just watch his newest film for now. It's not like it's a franchise where we need to watch every film leading up to it, and then in the future we'll watch the rest of his films later on in whatever order.
and eventually we will also cover Peacemaker before we truly go over Marvel stuff, because I almost forgot about Peacemaker. Peacemaker, I have seen it once. I enjoyed it quite a lot, so I think that will be interesting to cover that. I don't think DC has seen Peacemaker yet, so that will be a future topic once we are done with Naomi, Arrow, Smallville, Supergirl. Um, yeah, we are like we covered a lot of things so far, and this is uh, parts because of you, man. Thank you very much. So, with that being said, man, thank you for coming. As usual, I had a blast. People who are watching, like, comment, and subscribe. We will see each other in future video and stream. And Cole, take care. We will talk later.
Yep. See ya.